Chapter 867. It seemed that it would not be easy to avenge Uncle Liang. If they were in Western Liang, Qin Hao would have killed Song Qingshu long ago. He would not have let Song Qingshu leave alive. But this was not Western Liang. If Qin Hao acted recklessly, he would have no backup. Vivian was also in the space ring, fusing with the light of judgment. Her soul was not affected at all. Revenge had to be planned carefully. As usual, Qin Hao arrived at his herb garden early in the morning before the other disciples of the Lingyun school had woken up to cultivate. He looked at the small plot of land under his feet. Fresh green buds emerged from the ground, shining brightly in the morning light. These were the herbs that Qin Hao specially cultivated for Liang Xiaoxi to make the Holy Soul Pill. There were 4 of them. 3 of them were sage herbs, and the most precious one was a king herb. The seeds were given to him by the old beast emperor of the Medicine Valley. The Lingyun school was in decline. The rare herbs produced by the Medicine Valley could not be found on the market. Not to mention the disciples, even the old sect master Ling Quan could not recognize them. The Lingyun school did not even have an elder, let alone an alchemist. Qin Hao carried a bucket of water and a ladle, carefully watering the 4 sprouts separately with a face full of care. The water in the bucket had been specially treated. It contained the essence of tranquil water, which could catalyze the growth of the herbs in a very short time. When the time came, Qin Hao would find a secluded place to make the Holy Soul Pill and secretly throw it into Liang Xiaoxi's food. Li Bai, Ling Xiaoshua's voice was heard. She was very angry, as if she had eaten gunpowder. Qin Hao turned around in surprise. Who offended eldest senior sister? He saw the other party walking toward the herb garden, his face full of anger. Wow, you're really addicted to being depraved here. You are a man, but instead of working hard to bring glory to the sect, you hide here and plant herbs. Do you have any future prospects? Ling Xiaoxua put her hands on her waist and glared at Qin Hao. Qin Hao had joined the Lingyun school for almost half a month, but he had never cultivated during this period. While others were cultivating, he was sleeping. While others were done refining, he was still sleeping. He had nothing to do all day, eating and being lazy. It was just that in his spare time, someone discovered that he had cultivated a small piece of wasteland in front of the mountain gate, and a grown man was raising flowers. Wasn't this a disgrace to the sect? When the disciples told Ling Xiaoxua about this, she didn't believe them at first. Now that he had seen it with his own eyes, he had never imagined that Qin Hao was really growing flowers. If you feel inferior because your aptitude in the test is too poor, then you choose to fall. Then I advise you to leave. Our Lingyun school doesn't keep useless people. Ling Xiaoxua was really angry. After all, she was the one who brought Qin Hao and Liang Xiaoxi back. Ever since Liang Xiaoxi entered the inner sect and was personally trained by the sect leader, her progress could be said to be lightning fast. In less than half a month, she had reached body tempering stage 8 and was currently madly rushing towards body tempering stage 9. Qin Hao, on the other hand, hadn't even reached body tempering stage 9. They were both disciples, and they were both brought into the sect by Ling Xiaoxua. Why was the difference so huge? No. Senior sister, you must have misunderstood. For the past half a month, I've been cultivating tirelessly, forgetting to eat and sleep. While I was cultivating, others were sleeping. Because I was really too tired from cultivating, I started to grow flowers and plants to cultivate my personal temperament. This is called combining work and rest. It's beneficial to the body. Qin Hao chuckled. Cultivate your personal temperament? Ling Xiaoxua was so angry that she laughed. She pointed at Qin Hao's nose and gritted her teeth. Continue to cultivate slowly. If you don't reach body tempering stage 1 in 3 days, don't blame me for ruthlessly kicking you out of the sect. Don't. Qin Hao panicked when he heard this. He threw away the bucket in his hand and quickly wiped his hands on his clothes. He clenched a pair of strong fists in front of Ling Xiaoxua and said with a dignified expression, Senior sister, please take a look at my fists. Actually, I just completed body tempering stage last night. It's just that I didn't know how to gather qi, so I didn't have time to look for it. Since you want to gather qi, why don't you try taking a punch from me? Completed body tempering stage? Ling Xiaoxue glared at him. She then laughed out loud without caring about her image as a girl. Please find a suitable person to brag about. Do you think I'll believe you? Liang Xiaoxi had the Yuan King physique, a level 12 spiritual strength, and was personally trained by the sect leader. Currently, he was only at body tempering stage 8. This kind of cultivation speed was already very fast. On the other hand, Qin Hao had a trashy Yuan King physique, a weak level 3 spiritual strength, and he didn't have a master to guide him. Yet, he said that he had completed body tempering stage. Could it be that he was more of a monster than Liang Xiaoxi? Forget it. Qin Hao walked past Ling Xiaoxue. He extended a finger and looked around. There's a rock. Poof. He poked his finger into the rock. Crack. Dense cracks spread from the surface of the rock. With a loud bang, the rock, which was as tall as 2 people and as thick as a millstone, shattered in front of Ling Xiaoxue. It was a shocking scene. Boom! Ling Xiaoxue looked as if she had been struck by lightning. Her eyes were as round as saucers, and her mouth formed an O shape. She pointed at Qin Hao and stammered, This, am I dreaming? Tell me, I must be dreaming. The rock that Qin Hao had shattered was at least 6,000 kilograms. As the Lingyun school sat in the wilderness, the surrounding rocks had been subjected to cruel weather. They had long been ground into something comparable to steel by the forces of nature. Not to mention, poking with a finger, a body-tempering 9-stage cultivator would not be able to break a piece of rock in half a day. At the very least, Ling Xiaoxue could not do it when she was in the body-tempering realm. Even when she was in the elemental gathering realm, she would have to blast several times to achieve the effect that Qin Hao had. However, Qin Hao poked it with a finger and gulp. Ling Xiaoxue swallowed her saliva and looked at Qin Hao's finger strangely. Is this thing a finger or not? You dare say that it's not a sword? If senior sister still doesn't believe me, you could take a punch from me. After Qin Hao finished speaking, he clenched his fist. His fist looked white, but it gave people a kind of heavy pressure. It made Ling Xiaoxue, who was in the profound sage realm, feel an inexplicable sense of fear. She shook her head. No need. According to your performance, your finger strength is far beyond a body-tempering 9-stage cultivator. I guarantee that even 2 body-tempering 9-stage cultivators would not be able to take a poke from you. Ling Xiaoxue's face was full of bitterness as she said these words. She was thinking, how do they buy cultivate? If one wanted to achieve small success in finger strength, it would be 10 times harder than fist and palm techniques. Moreover, Liang Xiaoxi was only in the body-tempering 8th stage. Could Li Bai's physique really be that of a master Yuan's? Could it be that there was a mistake during the test? Looks like I won't be kicked out of the sect. Qin Hao pretended to exhale, then picked up the bucket and began to water the herbs. His actions immediately caused Ling Xiaoxue to roll her eyes. Even if you've cultivated to the body-tempering completion stage, you can't be arrogant and neglect. Next is Qi gathering, so you have to work harder. Come with me. She looked through her spatial ring. She wanted to give Qin Hao a set of sect Qi gathering techniques, but found that there was no inventory. She could only bring Qin Hao back to the Overcloud Palace to get it. This isn't inappropriate. Qin Hao looked at the top of the mountain. That was where the inner pavilion was. According to reason, he was the lowest disciple and was not qualified to go there. The Lingyun school has declined, so there aren't so many rigid rules. You're just going to get something, so you have to come back. Come with me. Ling Xiaoxue took the lead and walked away. Chapter 868. By the way, senior sister, there are so few talents in the sect. Have you ever thought of recruiting disciples? Qin Hao asked as they walked. Actually, he wanted to know why the Song family wanted to recruit young people. Where are you from? You don't even know about the Imperial Martial Arts competition? Ling Xiaoxue suddenly stopped and turned to look at Qin Hao in confusion. Imperial Martial Arts competition? Qin Hao was stunned. I'm from the western countryside. Anyway, you've never heard of it. It's a remote place. Ha. Qin Hao rubbed his nose and laughed. Ling Xiaoxue frowned. Maybe Li Bai's hometown was deep in the mountains, and it was his first time out. She nodded and continued walking. She explained quietly, "Do you think I don't want Grandpa to recruit disciples? It's just that the Lingyun school has always had a feud with the Song family. The Song family is powerful and influential. The Soaring Cloud sect was deeply rooted in the Great Yin dynasty. Even the high-ranking officials were wary of it, not to mention the commoners, who would dare to send their children to the Soaring Cloud sect. And, alas, Ling Xiaoxue shook her head and sighed. Although it was difficult to recruit disciples in the past, they could still recruit one or two. Coincidentally, the Imperial Martial Art competition would be held next year. Emperor Xiao personally ordered the competition to be held nationwide. All of this was for Princess Jingyue. Everyone in Daliao knew that Princess Jingyue was going to be the crown princess next year. The Imperial Martial Arts competition was held for Princess Jingyue to choose a prince consort. According to Emperor Xiao, only the #1 genius in the northern borderline was worthy of his daughter. Although the Imperial Martial Arts competition would be held in Great Liao, all the geniuses from the northern borderline would gather in the imperial capital. There might even be disciples from the prestigious clans from the eastern continent and the southern region who would come to compete. There's another point. The prince consort who wins the Imperial Martial Arts competition is called the prince consort, but he has to marry into the Xiao clan. After all, the emperor only has one child, Princess Jingyue. Lin Xiaoxue explained. Oh my God! Qin Hao's heart trembled. A hint of anger rose on his face as he clenched his fists. Little Han, how can you be like this? Not only did you not wait for Qin Hao, Gij to fulfill your 5-year promise, your father even organized a competition for you to find a son-in-law. Have you informed me? Qin Hao was really angry. There was less than a year left before the competition. However, till date, Daliao's letters still hadn't reached Shiliang. He clearly wanted to marry his daughter off behind his back. This Xiao, he had a very bad conscience. Fortunately, we came here in advance. Then, I won't let you get away with your evil plan. Qin Hao had to participate in the Imperial Martial competition. But what does this have to do with the sex recruitment? Back to the main topic, Qin Hao continued to ask. Of course it has something to do with it. In order to win the Imperial Martial competition, the entire Daliao sect, and even the entire Beijiang sect, are crazily recruiting talents. With so many sex recruitment, how can the Lingyun school compete with them? That's why Song Qingshu of the Song family is recruiting young men everywhere. They have too many experts and need servants to serve them. Ling Xiaoxue said angrily. The Yin dynasty had come to Daliao to recruit servants, which was a provocation. They were looking down on the Daliao people. Although Lingtai ancient city had a long history, it was located at the border. Moreover, Jiuquan town was too small to attract the attention of the city lord. That was why the Song family was so lawless. Unfortunately, as the protector of Jiuquan town, the Lingyun school didn't have the ability. I see. Now Qin Hao understood everything. Senior sister, are you going to let Liang Xiaoxi represent the sect in the Imperial Martial competition? That's right. In the Imperial Martial competition, the second, third, and even the top 100 winners will be handsomely rewarded by Emperor Xiao. We don't want to be in the top 100. As long as we can be in the top 500 and attract the attention of the city lord, we will be able to support the Lingyun school. We will be satisfied. Ling Xiaoxue exhaled deeply and looked up at the sky. Her eyes were filled with longing. This was her small wish, and also the wish of her grandfather, Ling Quan. Although the wish was small, it could bring the Lingyun school back to life and help them survive in this cruel world. I will fulfill your wish. Qin Hao murmured. Top 500? No, I am a champion. I am the #1. Qin Hao would never allow anyone to take Xiaohan away from him again. Whether it was the entire Beijiang or the disciples of the East Continent and the southern region who were alarmed, they could bring it on. What did you say? Louder. Lin Xiaoxue replied and stopped looking at him with longing in her eyes. Nothing. I said, I don't know if the Yuan gathering realm is difficult. I really want to represent the sect in the Imperial Martial competition and get a good ranking so that Her Highness Jingyue will have a whole new level of respect for me. Qin Hao's face was full of struggle. TSK, forget it. You can only cultivate to the Yuan Master Realm in your lifetime. Why are you thinking about such unrealistic things? The imperial martial competition is cruel. Liang Xiaoxi's Yuan King physique might not even be able to enter the top 300. If he can unleash all his potential within a year and become a true Yuan King expert, he might have a chance. The chances of entering the top 100 are slim. After all, the geniuses of the Beijiang, East Continent, and Southern region will be competing. There is no lack of Yuan Venerate level geniuses among them. Ling Xiaoxue gasped. Just thinking about it made her tremble with fear. There is only one rule in the imperial martial competition. Participants could not be over 30 years old. However, there were definitely Yuan Venerates below 30 years old. This cultivation level was comparable to the founding ancestor of the Lingyun school. Yuan Venerates below 30 years old? Qin Hao sneered. He had thought that Xiao Yi doted on his daughter so much that the requirements for the son-in-law he had chosen for her were actually so low. Even if a low-level Yuan Venerate was standing in front of him, Qin Hao could definitely beat him up. However, it was only a low-level Yuan Venerate. If it was a mid-level or high-level Yuan Venerate, Qin Hao would not be able to deal with them. There were so many participants and the requirements were very broad. Therefore, Qin Hao was indeed feeling a little pressured. As they spoke, the two of them arrived at the Lingyun Hall. The Lingyun Hall sounded very domineering, but it was actually not much better than the thatched houses at the foot of the mountain. However, the Lingyun Hall was a huge wooden building built with wood. The interior was rather spacious and was divided into several important areas. There was a place to store cultivation techniques, elixirs, and weapons. There were no guardians in these areas. The entire Lingyun Hall was personally guarded by the sect master. Ling Quan's cultivation level was at the Yuan Monarch level, which was enough to suppress all the disciples in the sect. After going to the cultivation technique area, Ling Xiaoxue took out a qi-gathering manual and handed it to Qin Hao. Qin Hao lowered his head to take a look. The pages of the manual were yellowish and looked very old. He did not need to read the contents to know that it was definitely not suitable for martialists of the current era to cultivate. The Lingyun School's qi-gathering manual was too outdated and definitely not as advanced as the other sect's cultivation techniques. However, Qin Hao beamed with joy and said gratefully, "Thank you, senior sister Xiaoxue. Stop flattering me. Go back and cultivate. This time, I want to see how many days you can use to reach the consummation of the qi-gathering realm." Even Ling Xiaoxue felt strange when she said this. Qin Hao chuckled and turned to walk out of the hall. Suddenly, a person smelled of medicinal herbs and was holding some unknown liquid in his hand. The liquid splashed all over Qin Hao, and a sour smell filled the air. Qin Hao rolled his eyes. "Aya, you spilled the lulianjai that I painstakingly concocted. I will kill you." This person was clearly the one who had bumped into Qin Hao, yet he was furious. As he spoke, he immediately made a move. A blue glow burst out of his body. He was a Yuan Venerate martialist. Lulianjai. Chapter 869. Senior Brother Mu, stop. Ling Xiaoxue quickly stepped forward to stop Mu Feiyu. Qin Hao had just completed the body-tempering realm, but Mu Feiyu was a Sky Origin Grandmaster. He could take Qin Hao's life with one move. Qin Hao's face turned pale. He seemed to be scared out of his wits. In reality, he was relieved. Based on his current body-tempering realm, it would be hard to find an excuse if he accidentally knocked a Sky Origin Grandmaster to the ground. "Xiao Shui, why did you stop me? I want to kill him." Mu Feiyu did not give up. His face was full of hatred as he pointed at Qin Hao. Only then did Qin Hao have the time to size up the other party. The priest's skin was soft and tender, and he belonged to the gigolo type. He was not tall, and he was thin and weak. There was a strong smell of herbs all over his body, and he was carrying a bowl of sour Luoyang imitation. It was obvious that he should be a pharmacist in the Soaring Cloud sect. He was an alchemist. His position in the entire sect was considered to be relatively high. First of all, alchemists were respected by martial artists. Even Ling Xiaoxue called him Brother Mu. Senior Brother Mu. His name is Li Bai. He is a newcomer that I just accepted. He must have accidentally knocked over your medicine. Please be magnanimous and let him go." As expected, even the granddaughter of the sect leader, Ling Xiaoxue, was very polite to Mu Feiyu. Then, she hurriedly shot a look at the stunned Qin Hao. "Hurry up and apologize to Brother Mu." Although Brother Mu is only a level 3 Origin Ancestor Realm alchemist, he is the only person in our sect who knows about medicinal herbs. So, it's the famous senior Brother Mu. "I am Li Bai. I have admired you for a long time. Your alchemy skills are widely spread within 100 miles of Juchuan town. In fact, I only joined the Ling Yun school because of senior Brother Mu. I hope that senior Brother Mu can give me more pills in the future to help me level up." Qin Hao clasped his hands together and looked at Mu Feiyu with admiration. Ling Xiaoxue curled her lips. A leopard cannot change its spots. Qin Hao was really good at flattering people. Oomph. Mu Feiyu's anger was not something that could be appeased with just a few words. He snorted coldly and was still very angry. However, he did not attack Qin Hao again. Faintly, a sense of pride and accomplishment rose in his eyes. "Since you're a new disciple of our sect, you can avoid the death penalty, but you can't escape punishment. Do you know that this bowl of Luliang liquid is the 7,489th bowl that I developed? Do you know how hard it was for me?" I know. Who doesn't know that senior Brother Mu has it the hardest in the entire sect?" Ling Xiaoxue smiled apologetically and glared at Qin Hao from the corner of her eyes. It was as if they were saying, "Of all the people you could have offended, you just had to offend senior Brother Mu." Mu Feiyu was actually a good person, but he was too obsessed with refining medicine. If you knocked over his medicine, he would pester you for a year. Ling Xiaoxue was even a little afraid of Mu Feiyu. In order to restore the sect to its former glory, it's worth it no matter how hard Feiyu works. But Xiaoxue, you know very well in your heart that this 7,489th dose of Luliang liquid was to treat your illness. I spent 5 days and 5 nights to refine it. I guarantee that this dose is definitely the genuine product of a pill emperor. But it's all ruined in an instant. My heart really hurts. It's fine that the medicine is ruined, but your illness." Mu Feiyu looked at Ling Xiaoxue with a worried expression. Even he felt sorry for her. The medicine was used to treat illnesses. "Senior sister is sick?" Qin Hao was stunned. "You're the one who's sick." Ling Xiaoxue immediately retorted. "That's right. Your senior sister is indeed sick. Her illness is incurable." Sigh. Mu Feiyu slammed his palm on his knee and sat down on the ground dejectedly. "I understand. This bowl of smelly medicine was fed to senior sister." Qin Hao sniffed a strange smell on his body. It was really unbearable. If he hadn't resisted it, Qin Hao would have vomited. According to Mu Feiyu, Ling Xiaoxue had drunk a total of 488 bowls. This was the 489th bowl. Heavens! Even someone who wasn't sick would be smelled to death by Mu Feiyu. Ling Xiaoxue could drink so much. It was really hard on her. Ling Xiaoxue lowered her head and fell silent. Her small hands secretly clenched. She was seriously ill. Just as Mu Feiyu said, her illness was incurable. She didn't know how many years, months, or even days she could hold on. But her grandfather was old and the sect had declined. She was the only girl left in the Ling family. No matter how disgusting Mu Feiyu's medicine was, she would grit her teeth and finish it. She had to live on and complete the revival of the sect as soon as possible. This was her only wish. Whose medicine are you talking about? Fine, I admit that the taste is a little bad. But this is Denda's authentic recipe. Do you know who Dendi is? Look at your stupid face. You can't possibly know. He is my idol. In my heart, Dendi is my mentor. He is my god. He is a supreme existence. Let me be frank. I am Denda's successor. Speaking of the pill emperor, Mu Feiyu, who had always had a bad temper and would quarrel with the sect disciples for half a day over trivial matters, had a face full of respect at this moment. His entire person was immersed in the prestige of the pill emperor. Qin Hao's mouth twitched. He didn't think that after 600 years, there would still be someone who remembered him and treated him as their mentor. Although being worshipped was a good thing, why did Qin Hao have the impulse to slap Mu Feiyu to death? Sorry, senior brother Mu. I have to interrupt you. Although I don't know what Dinda's recipe is, I know that you are right. But I can guarantee that you are absolutely wrong. What nonsense are you talking about? Mu Feiyu, who had fallen into a dream, was startled awake. He suddenly jumped up, his face becoming incomparably fierce. He could endure anything, but he wouldn't allow anyone to question Dendi. Silver core grass, lobelia, snake plum, snow bloom, golden brocade, and purple perilla. This is your so-called six-fine liquid. This recipe was extremely stupid. It actually combined the snake plum and basil together. When the two herbs were mixed together, it would produce a slow-acting poison. Among them, the golden brocade was able to hide the toxicity to the greatest extent. The golden brocade can hide in the human body for years, or even decades. If this is Dinda's recipe, then Dinda's alchemy skills are really not that good. Qin Hao smelled the stench on his body and read out all the recipes that Mu Feiyu had imitated for the six-fine liquid. Thump! Mu Feiyu and Ling Xiaoxue's hearts skipped a beat at the same time. They subconsciously looked at each other and saw disbelief in each other's eyes. How did Qin Hao do it? You brat, not bad. Mu Feiyu had a whole new level of respect for Qin Hao this time. You can identify my recipe. Tell me, who are you? Are you a spy from the Song family who sneaked in my Lingyun school? At this moment, Ling Xiaoxue secretly circulated the essence energy in her body and stared at Qin Hao cautiously. After hearing Mu Feiyu's words, she also suspected that Qin Hao wasn't simple. Although he had never seen Mu Feiyu concoct medicine, he could read out the recipe clearly. Without decades of experience, it was impossible to be so familiar with the herbs, unless he was a disciple specially groomed by a big family. My hometown is deep in the mountains and forests in the west. These 6 herbs can be seen everywhere in my hometown. I ate them as wild vegetables since I was young, so I could recognize them with just a sniff. Qin Hao replied sincerely. Phew! Ling Xiaoxue exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. This explanation was very suitable, and it made her give up the urge to kill Qin Hao. I see. You ate these 6 herbs since you were young. No wonder. Mu Feiyu nodded and frowned immediately. But you're still talking nonsense. Although mixing snake plum and basil will produce a slow-acting poison, adding golden brocade can maximize the decomposition of the poison. It's definitely not like what you said, where the poison will be stimulated. If you don't believe me, you could take out your blood and bite the 2 herbs. Then, put them in clear water with your blood. Qin Hao smiled. Okay, I'll prove my ability in front of Xiaoxue. Mu Feiyu went out to find a basin and filled it with clear water. After a while, he brought it back and placed it in front of Qin Hao. He was saving people, not poisoning Ling Xiaoxue. Moreover, he didn't believe Qin Hao's words at all. His understanding of herbs was definitely better than Qin Hao's. As he spoke, Mu Feiyu took out a knife and cut open his palm. Without frowning, he clenched his fist and blood flowed down, merging into the clear water in the basin. In an instant, the blood in the clear water dispersed and turned into blood. I didn't expect Senior Mu to be such a sentimental person. Qin Hao was speechless. 1 or 2 drops were enough. Why did you have to use so much blood? Just to prove yourself? At this moment, Mu Feiyu also took out the purple perilla and snake plum grass from his interspatial ring. He placed them in his mouth and chewed them. These 2 herbs were extremely smelly after being mixed together. It was so smelly that Mu Feiyu's face contorted. However, he still tried his best to chew. The blood didn't change at all. Look, it's not poisonous, right? I used a very small amount. It almost doesn't produce any poison. I've tested it many times in private. It definitely won't harm Xiaoxue. Mu Feiyu pointed at the basin. Ling Xiaoxue heaved a sigh of relief. She was really frightened just now. The facts proved that she should have trusted Senior Mu's ability. There's still the golden incense. Qin Hao put his hands behind his back and waited for a good show. You still don't give up? Fine. I'll make you suffer a crushing defeat this time. Mu Feiyu was unusually serious. He took out the golden incense from his spatial ring and chewed it. As a result, after just 2 bites, an intense numbness spread from his mouth to the top of his head, causing his entire body to stiffen for a moment. Moreover, the speed of his mouth biting became slower and slower, and a dark green color gradually appeared on his face. There were still remnants of the basil and snake plum in his mouth. As the golden incense entered his mouth, the three herbs immediately had a poisonous reaction. Mu Feiyu almost believed in Qin Hao at this moment, but he couldn't stop. He wanted to see if he was right or wrong. Maybe there would be a miracle? Then, he threw the chewed golden incense into the basin. Swish! The originally bright red blood turned black in an instant. It was as black as ink. It was obvious that it was extremely poisonous. Just as Qin Hao said, the golden incense couldn't suppress the basil and snake plum. Instead, it could stimulate the two herbs. How can this be? Impossible, impossible. Mu Feiyu's face was pale. He never thought that this would be the result. According to the continent's common knowledge, the golden incense could decompose the snake plum and basil's poison. Many seniors had tested it countless times, but he didn't think that it would be the opposite and catalyze the poison. The golden incense is also known as the scorching sungrass. It absorbs strong sunlight. Now that it's summer, it's the most effective season. Actually, it can be used to decompose the snake plum and basil's poison. But that's the dried and withered golden incense. Its yang energy has already dissipated and it has become mild. And I guess. Chapter 870. Not bad, Junior Brotherly. You can even guess that. Mu Feiyu's eyes flashed as he looked at Qin Hao strangely. He was right again. He carefully analyzed the process of brewing the medicine and found that the reason for the problem was indeed in the details that Qin Hao mentioned. My hometown is rich in golden brocade incense, so I'm very familiar with its effects. There's nothing strange about it. Qin Hao waved his hand and smiled. Mu Feiyu furrowed his brows. The dried golden brocade incense can dissolve poison, but the fresh golden brocade incense can stimulate a fierce poison. Why is it that the continent's conventional medicinal recipes only record the first and not the second? The second type is the key. Isn't this cheating the younger generation? Qin Hao shook his head after hearing this. Therefore, before refining pills, one should do more tests in private. One gives birth to two, two gives birth to three, and consider any changes and possibilities. This was a good habit that Qin Hao had developed. This was also the reason why there was only one Dendi in the world. Pill refiners who followed the rules were just mediocre people. As Mu Feiyu and Qin Hao chatted enthusiastically, Ling Xiaoxue's face suddenly froze. Mu Feiyu suddenly realized and explained in a panic, Xiaoxue, listen to me. I really didn't know that fresh golden brocade incense could stimulate poison. I only wanted to cure you. I had no intention of harming you. Senior brother, you don't have to say any more. To me, there's no difference between good medicine and poison. In my situation, how many days can I live? So what if it's poison? Ling Xiaoxue didn't take it to heart. Instead, she smiled bitterly. She wasn't afraid of death, but she was really afraid of the stench of medicine. Senior brother Mu is wholeheartedly trying to cure senior sister. That's why he imitated Denda's 6 good liquid and concocted a total of 489 bowls. In fact, he didn't know which 6 herbs Denda used, right? Senior brother Mu. Furthermore, you didn't use golden brocade incense for the previous 488 bowls. Golden brocade incense. Qin Hao said, Yes. Junior brother Li is right. I'm just imitating him. I'm just about to succeed. Little Shui, you have to believe me. Once my 490th bowl is completed, I'll definitely be able to cure you. Mu Feiyu anxiously said, not forgetting to look at Qin Hao with gratitude. Junior brother Li is actually quite pleasing to the eye. I'll try my best to take care of him in the sect in the future. Forget it, I don't have any confidence in myself anymore. I'll stop refining the potion. I won't drink it again in the future. Ling Xiaoxue accepted her fate. Absolutely not. Mu Feiyu panicked. From the moment he joined the sect, his dream was to save Ling Xiaoxue. He hadn't given up yet. So how could Ling Xiaoxue give up on herself? He wouldn't allow it. Otherwise, Mu Feiyu would lose his life goal. He looked at Qin Hao and excitedly grabbed Qin Hao's shoulders. Junior brotherly, you know so much about the snake plum and purple basil. Apart from golden brocade incense, do you know of any other herbs that can be used as a substitute? Quickly tell me. Although Qin Hao said that golden brocade incense could dissolve the poison after being dried, Mu Feiyu really didn't want to try it again. He no longer believed in the medicine books bought from the street stalls. Senior brother is a third-grade alchemist. If even you don't know, how could I possibly know? Qin Hao's face turned cold. You want my help? Hee, I won't do it. Junior brother, quickly tell me. I'm begging you. Your hometown's method of using herbs is very strange. There must be another way. Mu Feiyu's tone carried a hint of pleading. He repeatedly used his eyes to convey an apology to Qin Hao. Just now, he accidentally bumped into someone, but he pushed the blame to Qin Hao. He really regretted it. He swore to be a good person in the future. That's fine. Senior brother hasn't thought of using blue silvergrass? Qin Hao asked. Blue silvergrass? Mu Feiyu was startled. Blue silvergrass was the most common plant. It could be found in the wilderness, deserts, or snowy mountains. That kind of thing was no different from weeds. How could it be considered a herb? Qin Hao sighed. Mu Feiyu didn't understand this. He explained, in essence, blue silvergrass isn't considered a herb. However, it is better than most herbs, even rare ones. Because blue silvergrass was too common, whether it was in the cracks of rocks, dry deserts, or frozen snowy mountains, no matter how cruel the conditions were, it couldn't stop it from surviving. Its vitality was very tenacious. Therefore, its life essence was abnormally strong. It was precisely because of this that it was ignored by all alchemists. Everyone only knew that it was a cheap thing that could be found on the streets. No one treated it as a treasure. Qin Hao realized that no matter how insignificant it was, it still had its precious value. That's right. Why didn't I think of it? Compared to the golden brocade, the blue silvergrass is more suitable to be mixed with the snake plum and basil. Back then, when the pill emperor refined the 6 fine medicines, he might have used the blue silvergrass. I'll go and try immediately. Little Snow, wait for my good news. Mu Feiyu was worthy of being called an alchemy fanatic. He didn't wait for the two to respond and ran out of the hall while laughing. Also, thank you, Junior Brotherly. Immediately after, his thanks came from outside the hall. 6 qualities medicine? Ling Xiaoxue muttered to herself and shook her head. How could the 6 qualities medicine's formula be so easily analyzed? There is only one Dendi in this world. She definitely didn't believe that blue silvergrass was one of the 6 qualities medicine's formula. However, Qin Hao silently smiled. To be honest, blue silvergrass really was one of the main ingredients for the 6 qualities medicine. However, he still didn't understand why Mu Feiyu was so obsessed with the 6 qualities medicine. Could it be that the 6 qualities medicine was the key to curing Ling Xiaoxue's illness? Senior sister, if you don't mind, can I take your pulse? Take my pulse. Ling Xiaoxue suddenly looked at Qin Hao. You know alchemy? I don't know. I'm not an alchemist. However, I grew up in the mountains and was a wild child. From time to time, I would be chased and bitten by wild beasts. Getting injured was a common occurrence. As the saying goes, a long illness becomes a doctor. When I was injured, I used wild grass to heal myself. After a long time, I began to understand some medicinal principles. Qin Hao said, moreover, from what I see, your illness is similar to a playmate of mine in my hometown. His face was also pale, and his body was often weak. After overworking, he would cough violently, and it was not suitable for him to fight. Later, I used a secret formula to cure him. Could it be that senior sister is also like this? Ew. Ling Xiaoxue expressed her astonishment. Qin Hao hadn't even taken her pulse yet, but he could see through her symptoms. All right, you could try. Ling Xiaoxue nervously stretched out her right arm. Her arm was very white, and her wrist was very thin. She rolled up her sleeve and placed it in front of Qin Hao. Mu Feiyu, a third-grade alchemist, couldn't do anything about it. She didn't have much confidence in Qin Hao. However, Qin Hao said that her condition when she was ill was the same as a person in his hometown, and that person was cured by Qin Hao. This made Ling Xiaoxue secretly have a trace of fluke. Between the words, Qin Hao put 2 fingers on Ling Xiaoshue's wrist. His fingers were very warm, and there was a heat flow from his fingers into Ling Xiaoshue's meridians. Her whole body was warm and comfortable. So that's how it is. Qin Hao finally understood why Mu Feiyu must crack the formula of Luliang liquid. He looked at Ling Xiaoxue seriously and said, "It turns out that senior sister has a congenital weak internal organs. The speed of the aging of your internal organs is 10 times faster than that of ordinary people." This. Chapter 871. Due to the innate weakness of the internal organs, the speed at which the 5 viscera and 6 bowels aged was 10 times faster than that of an ordinary person. Logically speaking, Ling Xiaoxue should have died when she was around 10 years old. But not only did she not die, she even became a profound sage. Therefore, her lifespan increased. However, for Ling Xiaoxue, cultivation was even worse than death. If she died, everything would be over and she would be free. Every day of her cultivation was extremely painful. After all, she couldn't overwork her body. Moreover, after becoming a profound sage, even if one had powerful abilities, their internal organs and meridians wouldn't be able to withstand the burst of vitality. Every time they used their vitality, it felt like a knife was cutting their meridians. At this moment, Qin Hao finally understood why Ling Xiaoxue didn't agree when Liang Xiaoxi begged her to kill Song Qingshu. Being afraid of the Song family was only one reason. Another reason was that if she killed Song Qingshu, Ling Xiaoxue's own death would accelerate. "You actually knew everything just by taking my pulse." Ling Xiaoxue's voice was trembling. At the same time, a ray of hope appeared in her eyes. "Do you have a way to save me? This is very difficult." Qin Hao retracted his palm and paced back and forth in the room, as if he was thinking. And he wasn't pretending. Ling Xiaoshue's situation was very serious. It was needless to say how important one's physique was to a martial artist. However, Ling Xiaoshue's physique wasn't even comparable to that of an ordinary person. If she hadn't painstakingly cultivated to the profound sage realm, she probably wouldn't have been able to defeat a village girl. Her situation reminded Qin Hao of the body of the young master of the Qin family when he had just been reborn. At that time, Qin Hao's body was known as crippled Qin, and he was naturally weak since childhood. In the end, Qin Hao used the 6-fine liquid to change his physique, greatly strengthening it. However, Ling Xiaoshue's situation was different. Although crippled Qin was weak at that time, his internal organs were very strong. Ling Xiaoshue's condition was 100 times worse than trash Qin's. In fact, at this moment, Qin Hao concluded that even if he gave the real Luliang liquid formula to Mu Feiyu, it would have no effect on Ling Xiaoxue, unless transplanting the internal organs of a powerhouse was the most effective and direct treatment method. However, it was not easy to find matching organs. Even if she did, would Ling Xiaoxue kill innocent people for him? Then, using someone else's organs to live, his conscience would definitely be clouded. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. I'm fine like this. At least I'm still alive. Ling Xiaoxue was a little upset, but she quickly recovered and smiled at the sunlight outside the door. She was already used to it. When Qin Hao saw her like this, his heart ached faintly. Ling Xiaoxue was really strong. She dared to fight against the heavens. In order to fulfill her grandfather's wish of reviving the sect, she had been working very hard to live. Therefore, she was not afraid of pain worse than death. She endured all kinds of torture to cultivate. Therefore, no matter how bad Mu Feiyu's medicine was, she still drank it despite knowing that it might not work on her. This was a girl who was braver than the blue silvergrass. "Senior sister, I'll leave first. Time is precious. I have to cultivate." Qin Hao seemed to have thought of something. He suddenly turned around and walked down the mountain. Ling Xiaoxue looked at Qin Hao's back and smiled bitterly. It seemed that he did not care about her at all. Even senior brother Mu could not do anything. Qin Hao was just a body-tempering stage ant. What could he do? It was better to spend time on herself and cultivate to become stronger. However, She did not know that after Qin Hao left, 2 new herbs grew in the small medicine shop at the foot of the mountain the next day. These 2 new herbs were specially cultivated by Qin Hao for Ling Xiaoxue. Although congenital organ failure was difficult to treat and could not be cured by ordinary pills, it was not difficult for Dendi. Another half a month passed. There were a total of 6 herbs in the medicine shop. They had already grown to knee height, all thanks to the tranquil water. Qin Hao estimated that it would take at most 3 days for them to mature and be harvested. At that time, he could refine a Saint Soul pill for Liang Xiaoxi so that he would have the ability to compete. In addition, Qin Hao tried to develop a pill formula to strengthen the internal organs. On this day, good news came from the sect. Liang Xiaoxi, the personal disciple that the sect leader had just recruited, had broken through the 9th layer of body tempering stage and reached the 3rd layer of element gathering stage. In just over a month, he had cultivated from an ordinary boy who sold buns to the 3rd layer of element gathering stage. With such extraordinary talent, he was not inferior to some of the genius disciples in the sect. Although he was still weaker than the top monsters in the northern borderline, Liang Xiaoxi deserved to be celebrated by the entire sect. In order to celebrate, the sect leader ordered that the other disciples be allowed to guide Liang Xiaoxi. Although it was called guidance, it was actually to test Liang Xiaoxi's results. He wanted the other disciples to suppress their cultivation level and compete with him. The winner would receive a reward from the sect. So on this day, the training field was once again filled with people. No matter who it was, the first thing they did was to praise Liang Xiaoxi. However, Ling Xiaoxue also received news that Qin Hao had also broken through the element gathering stage on the same day and had reached the 6th layer of element gathering stage. This gave her another shock. Later on, through testing, Qin Hao's abilities as a 6th layer of element gathering stage were genuine. Even the strength of his Yuan Qi was twice as strong as an ordinary 6th layer of element gathering stage. At this moment, standing on the training field, Ling Xiaoxue saw all the disciples praising Liang Xiaoxi, but she frowned and her gaze fell on Qin Hao, who no one cared about. She was very puzzled. Who was the new genius of the sect? No matter if it was physique or mental strength, Liang Xiaoxi was clearly superior to Qin Hao. But in terms of cultivation level, Qin Hao surpassed Liang Xiaoxi by far, far too much. Qin Hao had such poor aptitude, but was actually able to cultivate to such a high level. If she switched her physique and mental strength with Liang Xiaoxi's, forget it. Ling Xiaoxue did not dare to think further. She felt that even if Qin Hao's aptitude was so poor, he could still be called a monster. Junior brother Liang, you are indeed the #1 genius of our sect. When I first cultivated to the element gathering stage, it took me a whole year and a half. I took 9 months. Senior sister Xiao Shui worked so hard, but she also took half a year. However, junior brother Liang only took 1 month and 3 days. Our sect is going to rise this time. That's right, that's right. The sect leader has taken in a superb disciple. The praises for Liang Xiaoxi were still endless. However, Liang Xiaoxi kept a straight face and turned a blind eye to it. In the past month, Liang Xiaoxi had undergone a great change because of his father's death in front of him. He gave off a very cold feeling. He was supposed to be an innocent young man, but when everyone stood in front of him, they felt a suffocating pressure. I don't want to listen to useless things. Who want to go first? Liang Xiaoxi opened his mouth and swept his gaze across the faces of over 50 disciples. These disciples were currently stronger than him, but he was not the least bit afraid. However, he seemed to have no interest in the others. Finally, his gaze fell on Qin Hao. Then, the corners of his mouth curled up in a cold, vengeful smile. Li Bai, you and I enter the sect on the same day. Why don't we start with just the 2 of us? Liang Xiaoxi took the initiative to ask for a fight. At this moment, all the disciples of the sect were stunned. They all looked at the silent, lowest disciple in the corner. In fact, if Liang Xiaoxi had not spoken, they would have almost forgotten about Qin Hao. Chapter 872. This junior brother Li Bai only has a 3rd-grade spiritual power and a weak Master Yuan body. Junior brother Liang has a King Yuan body. How would he dare to accept the challenge? Junior brother Liang reached the 3rd tier of essence gathering tier in a month. Li Bai's aptitude is terrible, and he sleeps all day long. I guess he hasn't even reached the 1st tier of body tempering realm. Even if senior brother Mu gave him 500 energy gathering pills, with Li Bai's poor aptitude, he wouldn't be able to reach the essence gathering tier in a year. If he dares to accept the challenge, he will definitely be defeated by junior brother Liang in 1 round. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. The surrounding disciples who were watching the show looked at Qin Hao with mocking smiles on their faces. Although their words were unpleasant, they were the truth. Sigh. Ling Xiaoxue sighed silently. Let Qin Hao fight with Liang Xiaoxi? The person who would be trampled on would definitely not be Qin Hao, because he was much stronger than Liang Xiaoxi. Putting aside his advantage in terms of cultivation level, Qin Hao's scariest part was his physical strength and the quality of his vital energy. He was more than twice as strong as people of the same cultivation level. The person who would be defeated in 1 round would definitely be Liang Xiaoxi. Because Qin Hao's advancement was too strange, Ling Xiaoxue was the only one in the entire sect mountain who knew about it. In the eyes of others, Qin Hao was still a lazy person who loved to eat and sleep. Therefore, she was looking forward to this battle. Do you dare or not? Give me a straight answer. Don't make me look down on you. Seeing that Qin Hao didn't respond, Liang Xiaoxi provoked him again. I won't fight with you. Qin Hao raised his eyes to look at the other party and replied lazily. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, the surrounding disciples couldn't help but laugh out loud. As expected, Qin Hao was terrified. This was out of Ling Xiaoxue's expectations. She thought that Qin Hao should accept the challenge. Victory was as easy as pie for Qin Hao. As long as he defeated Liang Xiaoxi, not only would he be able to raise his status in the sect, but he would also be able to gain the appreciation of the sect leader. It would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But why didn't Qin Hao fight? She didn't understand. Junior brother Liang's aptitude is extraordinary. Li Bai is indeed inferior to you. Why do you have to force him? I, Mu Feiyu, will fight with you. Mu Feiyu couldn't stand it any longer. He took a step forward and walked out of the crowd with a sullen face. He secretly gave Qin Hao a don't worry look. Senior brother will stand up for you. Brother priest? Liang Xiaoxi was a little surprised and started to panic. Mu Feiyu was the only alchemist in the entire sect. He definitely couldn't fight with him. At least for now. If Liang Xiaoxi wanted to level up, he couldn't do without Mu Feiyu's elixirs. If he accidentally made the other party unhappy during the fight, his future would be over. Senior brother Mu, I'm not your opponent. Let's change it to someone else. Liang Xiaoxi quickly replied. After Mu Feiyu suppressed Liang Xiaoxi's arrogance, he walked back to his original position. The other disciples all avoided him. Mu Feiyu's strength wasn't even in the top 20, but he was someone who couldn't be provoked. Li Bai, if you're still a man, come out and fight with me. Mu Feiyu had just returned, and Liang Xiaoxi started to provoke Qin Hao again. He was simply relentless. I said, I won't fight with you because you can't win against me. Qin Hao was a little annoyed. He walked to the edge of the martial arts practice field and sat down. He leaned against a wooden pillar and closed his eyes, pretending to be asleep. Tisk, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue? If you want to win against junior brother Liang, you'll have to wait until your next life. Don't you know what kind of person you are? If you're afraid, just say it. Stop looking for excuses. This person is as timid as a mouse. Let me be junior brother Liang's opponent. Let's spar and not go overboard. Along with the mocking of Qin Hao, a disciple from the Lingyun school stood out eagerly. He walked to the center of the martial arts practice field and stood face to face with Liang Xiaoxi. This person had a fiery look on his face. He was at the peak of origin ancestor. However, when they fought, he would suppress his cultivation to the same level as Liang Xiaoxi. You've disappointed me. Liang Xiaoxi raised his index finger at Qin Hao. Then he lost interest and focused on the opponent in front of him. Without saying much, both sides attacked at the same time. Punches and kicks were thrown, and figures flashed here and there, creating a series of banging sounds. Qin Hao opened his eyes silently. His gaze swept across the two people on the stage, and he smiled coldly. Liang Xiaoxi's opponent didn't use his full strength. Instead, he took the opportunity to flatter him. If he didn't do it well, he might be accidentally defeated. Sure enough, he didn't even last 10 moves before the disciple was knocked down from the stage by Liang Xiaoxi with a single punch. Junior brother, your fist technique is exquisite. I'm not as good as you. After the disciple was defeated, he didn't forget to praise Liang Xiaoxi. It's my turn. Another person went on the stage and took over the act just now. Again, he was defeated in less than 10 moves. Junior brother Liang is indeed a talented young man. I'm convinced. The person said, I'll do it. The third person went up. He was also an actor. Seeing this, Qin Hao couldn't be bothered to watch anymore. It was proven that Liang Xiaoxi was the direct disciple of the sect leader. The others didn't dare to show their true strength and only tried to curry favor with him. Li Bai, why did you refuse to fight? With your ability, Liang Xiaoxi is no match for you at all. Ling Xiaoxue's voice sounded beside him. Qin Hao opened his eyes lazily and looked at her. Not interested. If you defeat Liang Xiaoxi, you will be recognized by everyone. My grandfather will also look at you in a new light. Why are you so unmotivated? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Ling Xiaoxue was so anxious that she pinched Qin Hao's shoulder and said with disappointment, Don't guys like to be in the limelight? Now that the opportunity was in front of him, Qin Hao didn't want to take it. It's too cold at the top. It's too tiring. Qin Hao smiled and said something that Ling Xiaoxue didn't understand. Dinda's way of doing things was that if people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If people offended him, he wouldn't let them off. He would fight to the death. Liang Xiaoxi was Uncle Liang's son. Qin Hao was indebted to Uncle Liang, so if he offended him, Qin Hao could forgive him. As for being in the limelight, sorry, he never liked that kind of childish behavior. Although Qin Hao didn't like to be in the limelight, sometimes the limelight just had to find him. You're really infuriating. Ling Xiaoxue was still thinking that Qin Hao would amaze everyone with a single brilliant feat, however. He was lifeless and didn't have any ambition. He wasn't manly at all. She was so angry that she stomped her foot and turned to leave. At this time, Liang Xiaoxi had already defeated 27 disciples on the stage. He had almost defeated half of Ling Yun's school. Yang Kuan, you go. Suddenly, a majestic voice came from the top of the mountain. It was mixed with rolling anger. It was Sect Master Ling Quan's voice. How could he not see that those 27 people didn't show their true abilities? They were just acting to make Liang Xiaoxi have a good impression of them. I didn't want to go on stage, but I have to obey the sect master's orders. Junior brother Liang, you have to be careful. A disciple with a calm expression, dark skin, and two sword-like eyebrows stepped onto the stone steps of the martial arts stage. When his foot landed, a trace of white energy shook the bottom of his foot. It was obvious that this person's aura was very strong. It's Yang Kuan. The sect master actually ordered Yang Kuan to fight. Junior brother Liang is in trouble now. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. They seemed to be very afraid of Yang Kuan. Yang Kuan was the second disciple in Ling Yun's school. In terms of cultivation level, he was second only to Ling Xiaoxue. He was a fifth-stage profound sage. However, everyone knew that if they really fought, Ling Xiaoxue was no match for Yang Kuan. After all, cultivation level didn't represent real strength. Senior sister Xiaoxue's body couldn't do it. Yang Kuan was also an unusually solitary person. He didn't get along well with others and didn't know how to behave. He was extremely inflexible. He definitely wouldn't go easy on Ling Xiaoxue. At this moment, everyone started to worry for Liang Xiaoxi on the stage. Since you've only been in the sect for a month, I'll suppress my cultivation level to the first layer of element gathering tier. Yang Kuan's dark face gave people a sense of pressure. After he finished speaking, he placed his fists on his waist and channeled the origin chi in his body. Boom! A strong orange flame aura rose up, and the unparalleled force caused the surrounding disciples to retreat into the distance. On the stage, Liang Xiaoxi couldn't stand still. He was blown back by the energy and almost fell off the stage. At this moment, the origin chi on Yang Kuen's body started to weaken, turning from orange to green. Chapter 873. Even so, the crowd was still worried for Liang Xiaoxi. Yang Kuen's strength was not only reflected in his high cultivation level, but also in his ability to fight. Every move he made was steady, and when he saw an opportunity, he would defeat his opponent in one move. He was the undisputed number one in Ling Yun's school. Fortunately, Yang Kuen has suppressed his cultivation level to the first layer of element gathering tier, which is more or less advantageous for junior brother Liang. I hope junior brother Liang won't lose too badly. Many people secretly clench their fists, feeling nervous. First layer of element gathering tier. Are you looking down on me? After Yang Kuen suppressed his cultivation level, his aura was no longer as terrifying, but this caused Liang Xiaoxi to be extremely dissatisfied. I'm not looking down on you, but I respect you. Moreover, if you can last 10 moves, I'll consider it your win. Yang Kuen said expressionlessly. You've gone too far. In any case, Liang Xiaoxi had already defeated 27 soaring cloud sex disciples. After receiving such humiliation, she immediately clenched her teeth in anger, clenched her right hand into a fist, and shot out her body to throw out a punch. A ball of green light surged on his fist. When he fought with the other disciples just now, he did not use his origin chi. This time, Yang Kuen successfully angered Liang Xiaoxi, causing him to use his full strength. Childish, Yang Kuen retreated unhurriedly. 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves. Every time, Liang Xiaoxi missed. Liang Xiaoxi became more and more anxious and aggressive as he fought, gradually losing his composure. Although his attacks were fierce, they did not achieve the desired effect. On the other hand, Yang Kuen was unusually calm, accurately calculating his opponent's every move. After the 9th move, Liang Xiaoxi's attack missed again, and Yang Kuen's palm landed on his back. Pong! Liang Xiaoxi was sent flying off the stage. Wah! All the disciples' expressions changed. Liang Xiaoxi was indeed defeated. However, to be able to withstand 9 moves from Yang Kuen was already very rare. Yang Kuen was an inflexible person. He would never speak empty words. Since he defeated Liang Xiaoxi in the 9th move, it was enough to show that he had a certain strength. Moreover, the fighting style just now was indeed very fierce. Many disciples secretly compared it and found that if they were fighting against Liang Xiaoxi, they might not be able to withstand such fierce attacks. In short, it was not that Liang Xiaoxi was too weak, but that Yang Kuen was too strong. Brainless! Qin Hao, who was leaning against the wooden stake, cursed under his breath. He had witnessed the battle. First of all, I have to admit that Liang Xiaoxi has improved a lot. Unfortunately, he was too young. Junior brother Liang, don't be discouraged. It's already not easy for you to last 9 moves. If it were us, we wouldn't even be able to withstand 5 moves. Yang Kuen is the most talented person in our sect. There's no shame in losing to him. Everyone hurriedly lifted up Liang Xiaoxi, who had fallen off the stage, and comforted him. After Liang Xiaoxi was defeated, he had been lying on the ground motionless. His body twitched, and his eyes were red, and tears fell. I'm too disappointing. I'm sorry for my father. Liang Xiaoxi finally admitted defeat. He wiped his face with his sleeve and then bowed to Yang Kuen on the stage. Thank you, senior brother Yang Kuen, for letting me understand my weakness. I will work harder in the future. Yang Kuen was stunned and nodded. There was a trace of appreciation in the corner of his mouth. Junior brother Liang is brave enough to admit defeat. Your courage is commendable. In fact, your fighting style just now made me feel a little pressure. If your technique was more exquisite, I might not have 1 in 10 moves. You would have been defeated. As long as you practice hard, you will be able to surpass yourself in the future. At least in my opinion. Even now, you are more than 100 times stronger than some trash. After Yang Kuen finished speaking, he looked in the direction of Qin Hao. The trash he was referring to was Qin Hao. Yang Kuen, as a senior brother, You should watch your words. Ling Xiaoxue reprimanded angrily. Others might not know, but she knew that Qin Hao was stronger than Liang Xiaoxi. Yang Kuan, watch your mouth. Did junior brother Li Bai offend you? Mu Feiyu stood up. Qin Hao had helped him before, so he had to speak up for Qin Hao. Did I say something wrong? Ever since he came to our Soaring Cloud sect, I haven't seen him cultivate even once. Up until now, he hasn't even reached the first layer of body tempering realm. As a fellow disciple of the same sect, I feel ashamed. In my eyes, he is just a piece of trash. Yang Kuan looked at Ling Xiaoxue and Mu Feiyu seriously. He did not care about their status at all. He was extremely rigid. Ling Xiaoxue was so angry that she was speechless. Following this, Qin Hao, who was leaning against the wooden pillar, suddenly stood up. The laziness on his face disappeared, and his eyes were as cold as ice. Under the shocked expressions of the crowd, he stepped onto the stage step by step. He walked brazenly in front of Yang Kuan and pointed at his nose. I can tolerate Liang Xiaoxi insulting me. I am indebted to his father. Other than him, none of you have the right to say anything to me. Also, I challenge you. If you can still stand in front of me in 10 moves, I will consider it your win. Crack! As soon as he finished speaking, it was as if a bolt of lightning flashed in front of everyone's eyes. Is Li Bai crazy? He dares to challenge Yang Kuan. He is not even comparable to junior brother Liang, and he has not even reached the first level of body tempering realm. How dare he challenge Yang Kuan? How dare he boast so shamelessly? Defeat Yang Kuan in 10 moves. In the eyes of all the disciples, this was an extremely crazy move. Ling Xiaoxue was also shocked. She was about to persuade Qin Hao to come down. At this moment, Qin Hao cast a glance at her, as if saying, "Senior sister, please be my witness and publicly announce my cultivation level to everyone." Ling Xiaoxue saw the word determination in Qin Hao's eyes. In the end, she nodded. Although she wanted to persuade Qin Hao to give up, if she put herself in his shoes and remained indifferent after being insulted as trash, she would be ridiculed even more. In the future, Qin Hao would no longer have a future. His face would remain in Ling Yun School. Fellow disciples, I would like to announce something to everyone. Actually, Li Bai has just broken through to the element gathering realm today, and has reached the 6th level of element gathering realm. He is 3 levels higher than junior brother Liang. Therefore, he has the right to challenge Yang Kuan. Ling Xiaoxue was incomparably strict. Her stern voice spread throughout the entire martial arts practice field. In order to cooperate with Ling Xiaoxue, Qin Hao circulated the origin qi in his body. Boom! A ball of green light shook out and shone on the martial arts practice field. The strength of this ball of green light was obviously much stronger than that of Liang Xiaoxi. Oh my god, it's fake, right? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? A mere 3rd-level spiritual power and an element-gathering realm master's physique actually advanced to the element-gathering realm in a short month. Just like junior brother Liang, his cultivation level is even 3 levels higher than junior brother Liang's. At this moment, the entire Ling Yun school was in an uproar, including Liang Xiaoxi. Qin Hao, who was standing on the martial arts practice field, had really opened their eyes. Many people felt that they were dreaming. It's actually so rare. In the Ling Yun Hall on the peak of the sect, Ling Quan's old eyes shone brightly. This Li Bai was too unexpected. It did not make sense that with his 3rd-level spiritual power, he could reach the element-gathering realm in the same amount of time as Liang Xiaoxi. Moreover, his spiritual power was 3 levels higher than Liang Xiaoxi's. Yang Kuan, accept Li Bai's challenge. Ling Quan's interest was immediately piqued. His voice rolled down the mountain. Everyone in the martial arts practice field at the foot of the mountain was still in shock. Mu Feiyu's eyes widened, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. No wonder he said that I couldn't win against him. He's actually 3 levels higher than me. Liang Xiaoxi's expression became extremely ugly, and a sense of defeat arose spontaneously. He could not even compare to Li Bai, whose aptitude was inferior to his. However, Liang Xiaoxi's ugly expression immediately turned cold. He had just experienced how powerful Yang Kuan was. Qin Hao actually said that he could defeat senior brother Yang Kuan within 10 moves. This was simply unrealistic. Very well, I'll wait to see you slap your own face. Chapter 874. Haha. I take back what I said just now and accept your challenge. I'll use the 3rd layer of element gathering tier to fight you, the 6th layer of element gathering tier. Yang Kuan patted his sturdy, dark chest and laughed loudly, looking at Qin Hao as if he was looking at a weirdo. Let me give you a word of advice. It's best if you use a cultivation level above the 8th layer of element gathering tier. Otherwise, you'll lose very badly. Qin Hao said coldly as he pointed at Yang Kuan. The crowd was shocked again. Defeating Yang Kuan in 10 moves was already very unrealistic, and now he was even more arrogant. Shameless boasting. Lone wolf enters the wilderness. Yang Kuan's face fell. He was enraged and took the initiative to attack. His 2 strong hind legs stomped, and he pounced towards Qin Hao, as if he had transformed into a wild wolf. His right hand was enveloped in a layer of green light, and his opened fingers formed an illusory wolf mouth. He extended his arm and lunged towards Qin Hao's neck. The speed of this move was extremely fast, and its aura was unusually fierce, causing the crowd to scream. Looking at the situation, Yang Kuan wanted to defeat Qin Hao in 1 move and turn him into a joke. Minute collapsing fist. Qin Hao also moved, taking out the Qin family's low-level dark-level martial arts technique. But his speed was faster than Yang Kuan's, and his aura was fiercer than Yang Kuan's. When Yang Kuan's claws reached out, Qin Hao's fist hit the wolf's mouth. Pong! Accompanied by a heavy thud, the crowd seemed to have heard the howl of a wild wolf. Yang Kuan charged quickly, but fell even faster. His legs left 2 marks on the platform, and he couldn't stop at all. He was sent flying to the edge of the platform by Qin Hao's fist, almost falling off. Yang Kuan immediately raised his cultivation level to the 8th layer of element gathering tier, and only then did he manage to stop himself. Pathetically, his right hand fell to his side. His palm was trembling, and the skin on his palm was cracked, dripping with blood. He was extremely shocked. He never thought that with just 1 move, Qin Hao would be able to force him to raise his cultivation level to the 8th layer of element gathering tier. Such strong power. If I hadn't accurately sensed that you're only in the 6th layer of element gathering tier, I would have thought you're at the peak stage of element gathering tier. Yang Kuan no longer dared to be careless, his expression grave to the extreme. His words stirred the hearts of all the Lingyun school disciples. Qin Hao's physical strength was actually on par with the 8th layer of element gathering tier. If these words had not come out of Yang Kuan's mouth, and everyone had seen him being beaten back by Qin Hao in 1 move, it would have been the most absurd joke. However, no one dared to treat Qin Hao as a joke anymore. It was the first time that all the disciples of Lingyun School had seen Yang Kuan so serious. I take back what I said just now. Junior brotherly Bai, I apologize to you. And this time, I will raise my cultivation level to the peak stage of element gathering tier. Be careful, huh? Yang Kuan let out a roar, and the green light around his body intensified. He had really raised his cultivation level to the peak stage of element gathering tier. This was because the pressure that Qin Hao gave him was too great. If he did not raise his cultivation level, it was very likely that he would be defeated. Yang Kuan's actions once again shocked everyone, and also deeply provoked Liang Xiaoxi. Come on, once he fought with someone, Qin Hao would throw away all distracting thoughts and only have eyes for his opponent. Defeating Yang Kuan was his only goal. Stepping on the water wind steps, his body flashed across the field like an afterimage. Another minute collapsing fist was unleashed, and the endless cycle of reincarnation determination technique was activated. His physical strength seemed to increase limitlessly. Feeling the tsunami-like power rushing towards him, Yang Kuan braced himself and faced it head-on, and also punched back. After the second move, he was beaten back again. Master tier. Yang Kuan began to panic. Large beads of sweat rolled down his face, and with it tongue, the green light on his body turned into a turbulent blue light. In front of everyone, he actually raised his cultivation level to the first layer of Master Tier shamelessly. This action broke the boundary and made the battle extremely unfair. It also made the disciples of Ling Yun's school feel dizzy. How strong was Qin Hao that he could force Yang Kuan into such a situation, and even use Master Tier? At this moment, Liang Xiaoxi's heart was not as simple as being shocked. He felt his scalp go numb, and a sense of fear emerged from the depths of his heart. He was no longer an ordinary youth. After stepping onto the martial path, he clearly understood what it meant to have the strength to challenge those of a higher tier. Furthermore, Qin Hao was fighting Yang Kuan, who was 4 tiers above him, and was not at a disadvantage. What a pervert! Liang Xiaoxi's facial features violently contorted. He was not the only one, including Ling Xiaoxue, Mu Feiyu, and all the other disciples' expressions were incomparably interesting. F***CK, his ancestors. On the peak of the mountain, Ling Quan, who was watching the battle, was constantly wiping the sweat off his face. He saw that even though Yang Kuan's cultivation level had risen to the Master Tier, he was still at a disadvantage. He was still being suppressed by Qin Hao and was forced to retreat. 3 moves for moves, 5 moves. Although it was the same minute collapsing fist, the style of the attack was very familiar. It was the movement technique that Liang Xiaoxi used just now. It was the same style and movement technique, but once it was used by Qin Hao, it was completely different. If Liang Xiaoxi's desire for victory was described as a ferocious tiger, then Qin Hao would be a giant dragon from the 9th heaven, displaying his craziness to the extreme. This caused Yang Kuan to be shaken to the point of vomiting blood every time he received a move. There is nothing in the world that cannot be overcome by martial arts. Only speed cannot be overcome. I can understand your desire to win, but when you're fighting with others, other than being hot-blooded, you must always maintain a clear mind and clear train of thought. Use fake moves to create illusions for the enemy, confuse the enemy, and make him see your intentions. For example, like this, Qin Hao spoke as he fought, and naturally, he was speaking to Liang Xiaoxi. But suddenly, following the pause in his voice, the originally swift and fierce fist technique instantly slowed down, and the 9th move that was about to be executed suddenly stopped. And Yang Kuan had just adapted to Qin Hao's style and was waiting for Qin Hao's 9th punch to land. He had predicted the trajectory of this punch, but he never expected that at this crucial moment, Qin Hao did not attack. Suddenly, Yang Kuan himself stupidly pounced forward, leaving himself wide open. Qin Hao instantly laughed, twisted his feet, and brushed past Yang Kuan's shoulder. Minute collapsing fist. Bang! This punch accurately landed on Yang Kuan's back and sent him flying off the stage. This punch was the 9th move, and the scene was the scene of Yang Kuan defeating Liang Xiaoxi. Qin Hao was using the two of them as teaching materials to demonstrate to Liang Xiaoxi, and he had put in a lot of effort. F***K. Bang! Yang Kuan landed solidly on the ground, shaking off a layer of dust. The mark of a fist could be seen on his back, and his skin was bruised. Yang Kuan flew into a rage out of humiliation and was about to turn his head and curse back, but the moment he turned his head, he saw Qin Hao standing on the stage with his hands behind his back and a smile on his face. That kind of carefree temperament was incomparably coquettish. I submit, I really submit. Junior brotherly Bai, you're the first person that I, Yang Kuan, have ever admired. I admit defeat. Yang Kuan let out a long sigh and fiercely hammered the ground with his right fist, then boldly stood up and bowed towards Qin Hao on the stage. Instantly, all the disciples in the courtyard were dumbstruck. Yang Kuan, who was known as the #1 combat genius in the entire sect, was actually beaten in a submission by a martial artist in the 6th layer of element gathering tier, who had a 3rd-grade spiritual power and was looked down upon by everyone. At this moment, everyone else was shocked. Ling Xiaoxue, Liang Xiaoxi, Mu Feiyu, including the defeated Yang Kuan, all fell into deep thought repeatedly recalling the words that Qin Hao had said just now. It would benefit them immensely. Qin Hao's aptitude might be the weakest, and it would not be an exaggeration to call him trash, but his battle philosophy and techniques were undoubtedly number one. Chapter 875. Exciting, too exciting. This is the most eye-catching battle I've ever seen. After a long while, Mu Feiyu clapped his hands and praised. Li Bai, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Ling Xiaoxue laughed and jumped onto the stage, her eyes filled with admiration. Qin Hao smiled faintly and was about to say, "It's no big deal." Suddenly, his expression changed, and he turned to look towards the southeast. The martial arts stage under his feet was trembling inexplicably, and the entire Lingyun school was shaking. In the next second, a powerful crimson ball of light flew rapidly from the southeast. It was like a meteor crashing into the ground. The aura it carried was abnormally strong. Judging from the color of the vital energy, it was a Yuan king. Its target was the Lingyun clan. Song Xiang is here on orders from his family. Ling Quan, come out and fight with me. A loud roar came from the sky and rumbled into the Lingyun palace at the peak of the mountain. Ling Quan was still reminiscing about the exciting battle between Qin Hao and Yang Kuan. When he heard the roar, his face turned pale. This day has finally come. Letting out a sigh, Ling Quan clenched his fists and regained his dignity. Immediately, he turned into a ray of light and flew directly towards the red ball of light floating in the sky. "Grandfather!" Ling Xiaoxue's anxious shout came from below, her voice filled with endless worry. Ling Quan immediately stopped flying, and his body slowly floated above the martial arts stage. He lowered his head and looked kindly at his granddaughter, his eyes filled with reluctance. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. The hatred between the Ling family and the Song family has continued to this day. My grandfather, my father, my son, and my daughter-in-law have all died in their hands, but they still won't let it go. Today it's old man's turn. Xiao Shui, no matter what, you have to live on and lead Lingyun school to glory. Without waiting for Lin Xiaoshue's reply, Ling Quan opened both his arms and soared into the sky like a bird. Soon, he arrived in front of the red light in the sky. Then, the two light beams flew side by side, colliding with each other and disappearing in front of everyone's eyes. Ling Xiaoxue immediately squatted on the ground, tears streaming down her face. She knew very well that once her grandfather left, he would never return. Mu Feiyu, Yang Kuan, and the other disciples of the Lingyun school were also in despair. Qin Hao took a deep breath. Although he didn't know about the grudge between the Song family and Ling Ji, he knew that Ling Ji was right. However, he could predict that Ling Quan would most likely die. That scarlet ball of light was a level 8 Yuan Monarch, while Ling Quan was only at level 5. At this moment, everyone raised their heads and looked into the distance. They could vaguely see the battle between the two from the horizon. Although the image was blurry, one could imagine how intense the scene was. Qin Hao's eyesight was even more powerful. He secretly used the red lotus soul fire, and two flames appeared in the depths of his eyes. He discovered that the two rays of light fighting in the sky were colliding back and forth, then quickly separated, then collided again, and finally fell to the ground separately. However, in the next second, one of the lights that was obviously more powerful stopped falling and suddenly soared into the sky, catching up with the other light that was chasing the ground and slamming it into the ground. No, although Ling Xiaoxue couldn't see clearly, she could sense it. She flew in the direction where the two rays of light fell like a madwoman. As soon as she moved, all the disciples of the sect followed her. However, there was one person who was faster than everyone. It was Qin Hao. In fact, when Ling Quan's aura was getting weaker, Qin Hao had already disappeared from the crowd like a ghost. He used the water wind step and rushed to the battlefield at an extremely fast speed. There was a huge crater in the ground in front of him. In the crater, a young man in a light blue robe was looking down at an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The young man's right palm had already pierced through the old man's chest, shattering all his internal organs. Flaming Dragon Fist. Qin Hao was like a ferocious tiger. He immediately rushed forward, revealing his hidden cultivation level. As he waved his fist, the Red Lotus Soul Fire formed a wriggling and roaring fire dragon that blasted toward the young man. Huh! The young man was shocked. He turned around, gathered his palms in front of him, and pushed out a turbulent red light wave. The light wave collided with the fire dragon, creating a huge wave that soared to the sky. Then, the light wave shattered, and the fire dragon crashed into the young man's chest. Puff! The young man spat out a mouthful of blood. His body involuntarily retreated, and he only stopped after breaking several big trees. After this attack, he already knew that he was no match for Qin Hao. Sect leader. Qin Hao came to the crater and helped the old man up. However, Ling Quan could no longer stand up. With his last breath, he looked at Qin Hao in surprise. This was a useless disciple of the sect called Li Bai. Ling Quan had been in the sect for more than a month, and he didn't even look at him. However, at the critical moment, Li Bai was the first person to arrive at the scene. Moreover, his body was emitting a red light that was even more powerful than Ling Quan's. I don't care who you are. Get out of my sight immediately or die. Qin Hao's voice was hoarse as he looked at the injured young man. Anger flashed across the young man's face. Although his status in the Song family wasn't very high, no one dared to be so impudent to him. However, in the end, he endured it. He coldly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said to Qin Hao, "You're not from the Ling family and have no enmity with the Song family. I, Song Xiang, am only following orders. As long as Ling Quan dies, with Xiao Xue's conditions, she won't live long. You won't live for long. Let's disband the Ling Yun sect. This is a good thing for you." When Ling Xiaoxue was mentioned, great sorrow flashed across the young man's face. He had once sworn that he would protect her well. However, he had now killed her only family member in the world. After speaking, Song Xiang turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the horizon. At this moment, Ling Quan's breathing was very rapid, but he didn't have time to be shocked by Qin Hao's true cultivation. Instead, he looked at the other party with admiration. This old man really didn't expect that there would be a junior who could defeat the Song family's genius in one move. He was injured. Your strength is far beyond my imagination. It's this old man's fault for not being able to recognize a peerless hero. Cough, cough, cough. Ling Quan coughed out 2 mouthfuls of blood. Sect Master, don't say any more. Quickly take this medicine. Qin Hao couldn't bear it and took out a pill. No need. Ling Quan refused. I won't be able to live. Although I don't know, young hero, and I don't know why you hid such a profound cultivation and sneaked into my Ling Yun school as a disciple. You could even deceive my eyes, but I can feel it. Young hero, you have no ill intentions towards my Ling Yun school. This old man has a request that I hope young hero will agree to. Please take this jade token and inherit the position of sect master of my Ling Yun school. Protect my granddaughter, Ling Xiaoxue. Don't let the Song family hurt her again. Please also protect the disciples of my Ling Yun school. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you. Ling Quan's voice stopped. His jade token was tightly stuffed in Qin Hao's hand. Until his death, his eyes were still filled with endless concern for Ling Xiaoxue and the sect. I promise you. Qin Hao lowered his head and mourned. Normally, even if Ling Quan knelt on the ground, he wouldn't accept it. Qin Hao had never thought of establishing a sect, let alone inheriting someone else's sect. This time, he only wanted to reunite with Xiao Han. However, the scene in front of him really made Qin Hao unable to find any reason to refuse. Chapter 876. This was the 3rd day after Ling Quan's death. Very few people attended Ling Quan's funeral. Other than the disciples of the sect, there were only a few old people in Juchuan town. For the past 3 days, the sect was lifeless. There was almost no sound of conversation. Everyone was cultivating day and night, using this method to mourn the death of the old sect master. Among them, The person who suffered the most was Ling Xiaoxue. Surprisingly, Ling Xiaoxue did not show too much grief. She only cried uncontrollably when Ling Quan was buried. For the next few days, it was as quiet as usual. But behind this seemingly peaceful scene, Qin Hao was well aware that there was a deep pain buried deep in his bones. Ling Xiaoxue was the granddaughter of the sect leader. No matter what, she had to be strong. Even if she had to pretend for others. At this moment, all the disciples of the sect were gathered in the Lingyun Hall. The old sect leader had passed away, but a new sect leader had been born. The disciples strongly objected to letting Qin Hao succeed the position of sect leader. In their eyes, Qin Hao was not qualified. To put it bluntly, his strength was not enough to support the image of a sect leader. I suggest that senior sister Xiaoxue be the sect leader. Li Bai, if you have any self-awareness, quickly hand over the sect leader jade token. Senior sister Xiaoxue is the only descendant of the old sect leader. In terms of background and cultivation, she is thousands of times stronger than you, Li Bai. Even if senior sister Xiaoxue is righteous and believes that only the holder of the token can be the sect leader, Li Bai, there is still senior brother Yang Kuan and senior brother Fi Yu. In addition, junior brother Liang Xiaoxi is the second personal disciple of the old sect leader. He is fully qualified to succeed. Cut the crap and quickly hand over the jade token. Letting a gathering Yuan state be the sect leader, aren't you afraid that others will laugh at our Lingyun school? The voices of criticism in the hall were overwhelming. Everyone was pointing at Qin Hao's nose and shouting loudly. However, Qin Hao sat on the sect leader's seat with a calm expression, not moving at all. Ling Xiaoxue sat at the head of the table on the right. She looked at Qin Hao seriously, her eyes flashing with a strange light. She really couldn't figure out what method Qin Hao used to be the first to arrive at the scene on the day her grandfather was killed. Through Qin Hao's various unbelievable performances, Ling Xiaoxue felt that he was hiding a huge secret. He might even be hiding his cultivation level. Say something. If you weren't the first one to run to the sect master that day, he wouldn't have handed the token to you before he died. At that time, other than you, there was no other student from Lingyun school. Don't really think of yourself as a prodigy. No matter how strong your combat ability is, you can't escape the fact that you're a trash. We definitely won't let someone with third-rank mental energy who can only reach the Origin Master Realm become the Sect Master. That's ruining the sect. Enough. Qin Hao couldn't take it anymore and roared. The moment he spoke, he released the might of an emperor, causing the entire place to fall silent. Then, Qin Hao looked at Ling Xiaoxue, Yang Kuan, and Mu Feiyu. What do you think? Ling Xiaoxue was silent for a moment. I still say the same thing. We respect grandfather's choice. Since he let you be the sect leader, you are the true sect leader of Lingyun School. Ling Xiaoxue knew Ling Quan very well. Ling Quan was a meticulous person. Even if he was on the verge of death, he definitely wouldn't have done something so ridiculous. If Qin Hao was really a trash, he definitely wouldn't have entrusted the sect to him. But why did grandfather do that? What happened at that time? Ling Xiaoxue didn't know. Even so, she still believed in Ling Quan's judgment. I agree that Junior Li Bai should be the sect leader. Unexpectedly, after Ling Xiaoxue, Yang Kuan was the second to step forward and acknowledge Qin Hao's position as the sect leader. Cultivation is only one aspect of a person's ability. To the sect leader's ability to lead and manage is more important. Moreover, he defeated me, Yang Kuan, who was in the Origin Master Realm with his cultivation of the gathering element. Based on this reason alone, I agree wholeheartedly. If even this is considered trash, then I would like to ask everyone here, what do you all count for? Do you dare to fight with me? Yang Kuan's cold gaze swept across the crowd. He was a loner, and his gaze was so cold that no one dared to look him in the eye. Immediately, Yang Kuan laughed and pointed at his own nose. As for making me the sect master, I'm not made for that at all. I'm willing to fight, but managing the cultivation resources, clothing, and food of more than 50 people, I can't even take care of myself. I also agree that Junior Li Bai should be the sect leader. Mu Feiyu followed. As soon as he spoke, everyone became anxious. Senior brother Feiyu. Mu Feiyu was the only alchemist in the sect. All the cultivation resources of the disciples were in his hands. Obtaining Mu Feiyu's support was equivalent to obtaining half of the Lingyun school. Everyone, don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly. Junior Li Bai has a deep understanding of medicinal herbs. To be honest, Junior Li Bai solved the biggest problem of the new recipe that I recently came up with. This recipe will be of great help in transforming your martial body. I'm more than 90% sure that it can increase your potential. For example, those who originally cultivated to the Origin Master realm can cultivate to the Mortal Saint realm. Those who reach the Mortal Saint realm can break through to the Profound Saint realm. Mu Feiyu said seriously. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone felt extremely shocked. A martial body that transformed into a martial artist. This kind of medicine could be considered treasure. What else do you have to say? Qin Hao smiled and nodded at Mu Feiyu and the others. He looked at the disciples again. If Xiao Shui wants to be the sect leader, I will immediately hand over the token, including Brother Yang Kuan and Brother Priest. But other than me, I'm sure no one is willing to take on the sect's mess. If any of you think that you have the ability to lead the overall situation, I can also give you the token. As he spoke, Qin Hao's gaze turned to Liang Xiaoxi. Liang Xiaoxi's face twitched, and she said coldly, I also agree that Li Bai should be the sect leader. I'm sorry, senior brothers, but I can't treat your future as a joke. I really don't have the ability to manage you. AI. The hall was filled with sighs. Since senior sister Xiao Shui, senior brother Yang Kuan, senior brother Feiyu, and even Liang Xiaoxi said so, they could only let Li Bai, who was in the Gathering Yuan realm, be the sect leader. Although it was very embarrassing, if it were any other disciple, they would not have the courage to take on the burden of the sect. Not good, senior sister, not good, the Song family. The Song family has come again. Suddenly, an extremely panicked voice came from outside the hall. In the next second, a disciple anxiously rushed into the hall and pointed down the mountain. Song Qingshu has brought a large group of disciples from the Song family from Ding'an City to provoke us. They want to destroy our Lingyun school. Pa! Yang Kuan smashed the chair next to him into pieces with a slap. He gritted his teeth and said angrily, the sect leader's funeral is not over yet, and they still dare to come here. They are so arrogant and condescending. Junior brothers, today we will fight the Song family to the death. After saying that, he burst out with the full power of the 5th level of the Profound Sage realm and angrily rushed out like an injured tiger. Kill! Whoosh! The disciples of the Lingyun school were all hot-blooded, and more than 50 people chased after him. The hall was empty. Creak! Qin Hao clenched his fists. A bunch of idiots. As the sect leader, he had not said anything yet. This group of people really lacked discipline. Junior brother, don't be angry. Sect leader, don't be angry. Let's go and take a look. Chapter 877. By the time Qin Hao and the rest arrived at the foot of the mountain, the Lingyun school disciples were already lying on the ground, hugging their stomachs as they rolled around. Yang Kuan was also knocked to the ground, and Song Qingshu stepped on his head. Song Qingshu had brought quite a number of people with him. There were at least 100 of them, and their average strength was that of a high-level Origin Grandmaster. Among them were the 7 or 8 mortal sage lackeys who had followed him when he went to Juchuan town. However, these people were no match for Yang Kuan. In fact, behind Song Qingshu stood 2 green-faced elders, one tall and one short, one fat and one skinny. The one who had injured Yang Kuan was one of them. The Shimming Elders? When Mu Feiyu saw the 2 old men standing behind Song Qingshu, one fat and one skinny, he let out a cry from the bottom of his heart. Ling Xiaoshua's expression changed as well. No wonder Yang Kuan was knocked to the ground the moment he stepped out of the door. The Ding'an City Song family had actually sent the Shimming Elders. The Shimming Elders were Origin Monarchs, and they were at the 2nd heaven of the Origin Monarch realm. The 2 of them had worked together for many years and had great chemistry. They could often defeat opponents who were 2 levels higher than them. Yang Kuan, who was a profound sage, was as weak as an ant in front of them. The two of them were actually not elders of the Ding and City Song family. The Song family was just a branch, and the family's strength was only at the first heaven of the Origin Monarch realm. The Xianming elders were the Song family's retainers in the northern Yan imperial city. It seemed like the Song family was determined to exterminate the Ling Yun school. That old man Ling Quan was indeed beaten to death by that little bastard Song Ziyang. Although that little bastard Song Ziyang isn't well liked in the main family, he did a great favor to our branch family this time and resolved a great problem in my uncle's heart. Now Ling Quan is dead. There is no need for the Ling Yun school to exist anymore. Song Qingshu stepped on Yang Kuan's head. When he saw Lin Xiaoxue appear, he laughed at her. His laughter was full of sarcasm. When she heard the name Song Ziang, Ling Xiaoxue clenched her fists until they turned white. She loved and hated that man at the same time. However, the moment her grandfather was killed by Song Ziyang, Lin Xiaoxue no longer had any feelings for him. All that was left was hatred. You want to disband the Ling Yun school? Wishful thinking. Yang Kuan's forehead was bleeding. Even though his head was being stepped on, he still gritted his teeth and turned his head. His face rubbed against the ground, leaving traces of blood. He fiercely glared at Song Qingshu. I've already given Song Ziyang enough face by asking you to disband instead of slaughtering you today. How dare you fail to appreciate my kindness? of the song. Yang Kuan didn't even cry out in pain. Miss Xiao Shui, according to young Master Xiang's instructions, the two of us will be lenient. As long as you disband the sect, the old man guarantees that we won't hurt anyone. At this moment, the short and fat green-faced old man behind Song Qingshu spoke in an unquestionable tone. Haha, is this Song Ziyang's way of taking care of me? Ling Xiaoxue smiled bitterly. She knew that the Ling and Song family were enemies. Song Ziyang had no choice but to do this under the orders of the main family. But no matter what, she would never forgive him. My grandfather's funeral is not over yet. I hope the two seniors can make an exception. After the 7th day, Xiao Shui will disband the sect. After pondering for a while, Lin Xiaoxue made a decision. At the same time, she looked at Qin Hao apologetically. Her eyes seemed to say, I'm sorry. I can't let you be the sect master anymore. The Xianming elder's appearance represented the determination of the main branch of the Song family. Otherwise, no one would be able to survive today. Impossible. Without waiting for Qin Hao to reply, Song Qingshu was the first to disagree. He pointed at Ling Xiaoxue and said, What 7th day? That old fart Ling Quan doesn't have the qualifications to pass the 7th day. You must disband today. From now on, you must disband. I, Song Qingshu, have already done the right thing. You have shown me a great kindness. Xiao Shui, let's fight it out with them. Even if we die, we can't let them blaspheme the old sect master. Yang Kuan was filled with grief and anger. He looked at the Xianming elders with determination. He wanted to join forces with Ling Xiaoxue. Even if they could kill one of the Xianming elders, it would be enough. You talk too much. Who told you to talk too much? I'll tell you to talk too much. Song Qingshu stomped on Yang Kuan, who was under his feet, and waved his hand. Men, go and tear down the signboard of the Soaring Cloud sect. Chop it into pieces and burn it. Also, throw the white cloth that was hung up into the manure pit. Hearing this, the 7 or 8 Song Qingshu's lackeys rubbed their fists and walked over with sinister smiles. As long as someone dared to stop them, they didn't mind showing off their skills and killing a few Ling Yun school disciples who didn't know how to broaden their horizons. They couldn't wait for the other party to resist. However, the other disciples were all scared stiff. Facing the Song family's imposing manner, they couldn't help but retreat. There really wasn't anyone who dared to go up and stop them. Just as Song Qingshu's lackeys were about to take away the wooden plaque of the Soaring Cloud sect. I'm going to kill you. Liang Xiaoxi, who had been held back by Mu Feiyu, glared at Song Qingshu. When he saw him, he wanted nothing more than to pounce on him and drink his blood and skin him alive. At this moment, Mu Feiyu could no longer hold him back, and Liang Xiaoxi rushed out. After seeing Liang Xiaoxi, Song Qingshu was startled. He remembered that he was the son of the bun seller, old Liang. Song Qingshu couldn't help but smile. Just like that day, he simply swept out his sleeve and released a surge of vital energy. It shone with an orange light and blasted towards Liang Xiaoxi. Liang Xiaoxi suddenly stopped in his tracks. When the aura of death rushed towards him, he once again felt his own insignificance and how unbearable he was. He smiled bitterly. What was the use of cultivating? However, he wouldn't dodge or retreat. If he died like this while charging, he wouldn't let down his father in the underworld. Liang Xiaoxi once again took a step forward, getting closer and closer to the surging vital energy. Junior brother, you mustn't do this. You're the future of Lingyun's school. Oh heavens, open your eyes and see who will come and save our sect. Immediately, the entire place was filled with the cries of the soaring cloud sect's disciples. However, there was a loud boom. The vital energy still collided with Liang Xiaoxi, causing dust to fill the air. The smile on Song Qingshu's face grew even wider. However, as he smiled, his face suddenly froze. When the smoke and dust dissipated, a figure was revealed. Liang Xiaoxi was actually still alive. Moreover, the thing in front of Liang Xiaoxi was a sword. Oh my god, it was such a beautiful sword. Song Qingshu swore that he had never seen such a beautiful sword. It was even more beautiful than his uncle's divine sword. It was like jade. Moreover, there were traces of flames around the sword. It looked quite impressive. Disregarding everything else, just the aura emanating from the sword was enough to prove that it was a rare treasure. Even the Xianming elders widened their eyes at this moment. Their eyes were filled with greed. However, no one noticed that there was an incomparably calm figure that was slowly walking over from behind the Lingyun school disciples. Chapter 878. The entire audience was stunned. However, Qin Hao's words immediately caused the Song family disciples to burst into laughter. They all hugged their stomachs and laughed crazily, convulsing forward and backward. The Lingyun school disciples were also filled with a strong sense of shame. Ha ha! Is this kid an idiot? Let us more than 100 Song family disciples kneel down and kowtow 1,000 times before rolling down the hill, including the 2 seniors, the Xianming elders. Moreover, let senior brother Qingshu die without a burial place. I'm simply laughing my head off. This is the biggest joke in the world, haha. Facing the wild laughter of the Song family disciples, the Xianming elders revealed extremely serious expressions. Their observation skills were 100 times or even 1,000 times better than ordinary disciples. The aura that Qin Hao faintly emitted was extremely powerful, to the point where it was reserved to the peri-celestial realm. Even the Xianming elders. The 2 elders could not see through his cultivation. Who are you? One of the thin and tall elders with a green face said seriously. Lingyun School's sect master. Qin Hao replied coldly. As soon as he said that, the shame on the faces of the Lingyun School disciples became even stronger. Ha ha ha, so it's you. You're actually the sect master? Ha ha, quick, help me up. I'm going to laugh. A trash who can't even walk is the sect master. Aren't you afraid that old man Ling Quan will jump out of his coffin because of you? After Song Qingshu saw that it was Qin Hao, his performance was more exaggerated than anyone else's. He almost died from laughing. He turned around and explained to the Xianming elders, seniors, don't be nervous. This person came from the West a month ago. He wanted to join our Song family because of our reputation, but he went to the Lingyun school instead. His strength is as weak as dog feces. In just a month, even if he cultivates, he won't be much stronger. Go! What I didn't expect was that old man Ling Quan actually let him inherit the sect master's position, and even passed down the Ling family's treasured sword to this person. Song Qingshu felt that the treasured sword that blocked his attack should be Ling Quan's. So that's how it is. The Xianming elders let out a long sigh of relief. This time they were relieved. Perhaps it was because the spiritual qi emitted by the treasured sword was too strong, clouding their judgment and making them unable to see through Qin Hao's cultivation. However, Ling Xiaoxue, who was standing behind Qin Hao, was anxious. She muttered to herself, "My grandpa doesn't have any treasured sword." Not only Ling Quan, but Ling Quan also did not have any treasures that had been passed down for generations. The only possibility was that the sword belonged to Qin Hao himself. Moreover, Ling Xiaoxue clearly noticed that Qin Hao was giving off a very different feeling than usual. He was like a fierce tiger that had just woken up and was about to pounce on its prey. The coldness buried deep under that calmness made Ling Xiaoxue feel a chill down her spine. The other students of Ling Yun's school didn't think so. In fact, when the sect was in danger, they had long forgotten that there was still a sect leader like Qin Hao. Sect leader, you're merely an element-gathering tier. Stop showing off. Didn't you see that even senior brother Yang Kuan was knocked to the ground? Go rest wherever it's cool. This guy has advanced to element-gathering tier. Ah ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. When Song Qingshu heard this, he laughed so hard that saliva sprayed out of his mouth. He crouched on the ground, holding his stomach and slapping the ground with his palms. I'll say it one last time. Other than Song Qingshu, all of you kowtow 1,000 times to the top of Ling Yun's school, then roll down the slope, including the two of you. However, in the face of the Song family's mockery and the Ling Yun school's disdain, Qin Hao's words were still forceful. Damn you, trash and element gathering tier. What are you showing off for in front of us? Finally, one of Song Qingshu's lackeys could not take it anymore. He jumped up from the crowd and landed on Qin Hao's head like a toad, throwing a punch. He moved quickly, but Qin Hao moved even faster. His right hand reached out, and the void divine sword appeared in his palm. He slashed forward. Qi La. The sharp sword Qi burst forth and cut through the lackey's body, cutting him in half. The two halves of his body flew far away. Boom! This scene deeply shocked both sides. The one Qin Hao had killed was a mortal saint. But a mortal saint could not withstand Qin Hao's attack. Was Qin Hao an element-gathering tier? However, he did not give both sides a chance to react. He held his sword and charged forward, aiming directly at Song Qingshu, who was dumbfounded. At this moment, Qin Hao was enveloped in a turbulent orange light. The light was abnormally strong, and the strength of his primordial qi was more than 100 times stronger than Yang Kuan's. Obviously, Qin Hao's cultivation level was that of a heavenly saint. Old Swan, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Li Bai's primordial qi is that of a heavenly saint. How can he be a heavenly saint? And he's a heavenly saint. Mu Feiyu's eyes widened. To be precise, Li Bai is a 7th-level heavenly saint. Ling Xiaoxue was so excited that she could not control herself. Her small hands clenched into fists, and her judgment was even more accurate. No matter what, the word shocked was not enough to describe the feelings of the Soaring Cloud sect's disciples. They collectively felt that their blood was gushing out and boiling at the same time. The scene of Qin Hao holding his sword and rushing towards Song Qingshu was too intense. Be careful. In this crisis, the Xianming elders attacked at the same time. The skinny old man did not care about anything else. He kicked Song Qingshu, who was rooted to the ground, out of the way. The short and fat old man blocked Qin Hao. He gathered primordial qi in his hands and directly faced the great void holy sword. The two of them cooperated seamlessly. Clang! Followed by a loud sound. Qin Hao's sword that was aimed at Song Qingshu was stuck between the short and fat old man's hands. There was a crimson primordial qi in between his hands. Although the sword was blocked by the other party, the short and fat old man's feet stepped on the stone floor with a loud bang. His legs sank so deep into the ground that they reached his knees. This showed how terrifying Qin Hao's strength was. Well done. All hail the sect leader. Kill them. The Ling Yun school's disciples clapped and cheered when they saw Qin Hao's bravery. They had completely forgotten that just a moment ago, Qin Hao was still a disgrace in their eyes. You scare me to death. You scare me to death. Kill him. Hurry up and kill him. Song Qingshu was kicked 10 feet away and rolled on the ground for a while. After he stood up with great difficulty, he immediately pointed at Qin Hao and gave the order to kill him. The fear that had risen in his heart was still lingering even now. Qin Hao's attack had been too sudden. He had suddenly become a heavenly saint and had caught everyone off guard. However, he did not notice that the short and fat old man's legs were still sinking into the ground inch by inch. Large beads of sweat were rolling down his neck and face. The hands that were raised above his head were trembling slightly. It was as if he would not be able to withstand Qin Hao's attack if he was not careful. Sword. On the other hand, Qin Hao was floating in midair and holding his sword with one hand. His face was as calm and indifferent as ever. It was as if he did not use any effort at all. He's really strong. At that moment, the short and fat old man muttered in a hoarse voice and raised his head with great difficulty. He really could not understand. Qin Hao was clearly only a 7th-level heavenly saint, but he felt as if he was fighting against a Yuan venerate. The pressure was too shocking. Let me help you. The Xianming elders had a tacit understanding. The tall and thin old man saw that the short and fat old man was having a hard time. Without another word, he leaped up and joined the battle, stepping on Qin Hao's head. Shameless. Despicable. Shameless thing. 2 Yuan monarchs against our sect leader, who is a heavenly saint. The Lingzongian disciples were instantly filled with righteous indignation. Chapter 879. The skinny old man's foot was blocked by Qin Hao's left palm as he clasped the old man's foot. Not only did this kick fail to send Qin Hao flying, but the thin and tall old man let out a blood-curdling scream as he hung in the air, unable to move. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Qin Hao held the sword in his right hand and pressed it against the short old man's head. His left palm grabbed one of the old man's legs. With the cultivation of a heaven sage, he had subdued 2 Yuan kings. This scene was forever imprinted in the bones of the Lingyun school disciples who were watching the battle. It was unforgettable. Xianming divine palm. The Xianming elders felt a strong sense of humiliation. They took out their trump card and attacked Qin Hao at the same time. Their palms were surging with terrifying cold energy. 2 dignified Yuan monarchs only have this much ability. Qin Hao smiled coldly. His left hand swung out and threw the skinny old man away. His right leg left an afterimage, and with a bang, it hit the short old man's face. The old man was dizzy, and his left cheek was caved in. He flew out diagonally and landed heavily on the ground. The 2 waves of cold qi that were attacking Qin Hao were directly dissipated by the layer of flames emitted from Qin Hao's body. They no longer existed. What? How is this possible? It's the power of the essence spirit. This heaven sage brat is a super monster with an essence spirit. The Xianming elders wiped the blood from the corners of their mouths and looked at each other. They saw the shock in each other's eyes. An essence spirit genius? Our sect master is a super warrior with an essence spirit. Is this real? Who can tell me if I'm dreaming? The Lingyun school disciples were excited again. I understand. I finally understand why grandfather wanted Qin Hao to be the sect master. Lingyun school can be saved. Woo! When she saw the strange layer of flames on Qin Hao's body, Ling Xiaoxue covered her face and cried. Liang Xiaoxi looked at the battle between Qin Hao and the Xianming elders as if she had lost her soul. Damn it, damn it. No matter what kind of bullshit essence spirit he is, both of you are Yuan kings. Can't you beat a trash heaven sage? Are you worthy of our master's training? Quick, let me kill him. Kill him at all costs. Song Qingshu howled like a madman. He clearly remembered that Qin Hao had said that he would die without a burial ground. If Qin Hao did not die, it would be difficult for Song Qingshu to leave this place alive. The Xianming elders showed extreme disgust at Song Qingshu's reprimand. However, it was a fact that they were the retainers of the Song family's main bloodline. The 2 of them looked at each other again and nodded, as if they had made an important decision. Activate the power of Yuan King. Seal the skies. Activate the power of Yuan King. Seal the skies. The Xianming elders put their palms together. Then, a tsunami-like light wave spread out from their bodies and enveloped the Song family disciples and the Lingyun school disciples. The entire Lingyun school mountain was enclosed. When a martial artist became a Yuan King, they would obtain a special ability called the sky suppression technique. After the sky restriction was released, within the area it covered, no matter if it was a living or dead object, they would all be restricted by the caster. This was a natural advantage for the former. After all, Qin Hao had not reached the Yuan King level and did not know the sky suppression technique. The Xianming elders used a double sky suppression technique. The suppression on Qin Hao would be doubled. I feel like I can't move. How can this be? Is this the power of an Yuan King elite? The Lingyun school disciples were all affected by the sky suppression technique and could not move freely. Despair filled their faces. It was the same for Ling Xiaoxue. No matter how strong Qin Hao was, even if he had a Yuan spirit, he was still a sky sage. How could he resist the Xianming elders' sky suppression technique? Unless Qin Hao's cultivation level also reached the Yuan King level, he would be able to activate his sky suppression technique and suppress the other party. Looking at the current situation, that was not realistic. Ha ha ha, you are finished this time. Not only do I want that kid dead, but I also want everyone in the Lingyun school to die. This is the consequence of going against me, Song Qingshu. I want that old man Ling Quan to die with everlasting regret. Song Qingshu was overjoyed. Qin Hao was finally suppressed. Then, it was time to massacre the Lingyun school. Almost without the need for an order, Song Qingshu's 7 or 8 lackeys had already bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they charged towards the soaring cloud sect disciples who were restrained and unable to move. Sorry, your naive thoughts will never come true. Qin Hao laughed again. You are about to die, yet you still dare to laugh. Kid, you really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. It's no wonder that we, as Yuan Kings, feel such great pressure when fighting one-on-one. You are actually a martialist with a Yuan spirit. The fire Yuan spirit naturally restrains the sinister cold ice palm that we cultivate. Unfortunately, you are not a Yuan King yet. Therefore, you must die. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Let him watch the people in the sect get killed by the Song family. That will also resolve our hatred. The Xianming elders said to each other. They had lost a lot of face today. Qin Hao shook his head in response. Furthermore, he ignored the sky suppression technique of the two elders. He opened his arms and shouted, Domain! Buzz! Under the indestructible Samsara technique, a red light wave suddenly spread out from Qin Hao's body and instantly covered the sky suppression technique emitted by the Xianming elders. When the red light wave spread out, Song Qingshu and the others, including the Xianming elders, suddenly realized that they could not move. Naturally, the group of lackeys who had run toward the Lingyun school's disciples were instantly stuck in front of the other party. They raised their hands, but could not hit him. They could only stare blankly, looking extremely awkward. How is this possible? If they had not been restricted by Qin Hao's domain, the Xianming elders would have jumped up in fright. Could this be? Could it be that he is also, at this time, the tall, skinny elder looked at Qin Hao in fear and said something that others could not understand. Actually, what he wanted to say was that Qin Hao was also a Yuan King. After all, although the name was different, the effect of the domain was clearly the same as the sky suppression technique. Furthermore, the suppression was much stronger than the sky suppression technique. This could only mean that Qin Hao was also a Yuan King whose cultivation level was even higher than the Xianming elders. The reason I didn't kill you is because I think that you're still useful. My Lingyun school lacks 2 outer sect deacons to run errands. Fortunately, I took a liking to you, so you are still alive. Qin Hao said to the 2 of them with a faint smile. This meant that as long as the Xianming elders became outer sect deacons of the Lingyun school, they could live. This is absolutely impossible. Kid, don't go too far. According to our status and cultivation level, We are qualified to be Grand Elders of Song Qingshu's branch family. However, in reality, he is not even worthy of serving us. If you want to kill us, then kill us. Why do you have to humiliate us?" The two of them were furious. "I won't let you die, but I have 100 ways to make you feel worse than death." For example, swoosh. With a flick of Qin Hao's finger, 2 wisps of red lotus soul fire flew out and entered the chests of the Xianming elders. In an instant, an endless burning force flowed through the 8 extraordinary meridians of the Xianming elders and seeped into their internal organs. In the end, even their bones were completely corroded, as Qin Hao's will strengthened and weakened. Chapter 880. They couldn't even hold on for 5 breaths. Their voices were hoarse, and their eyes were bloodshot. "I'm willing to join the Lingyun school. We're willing to be the elders of the Lingyun school." The Xianming elders begged for mercy. Not elders, but deacons. Deacons in charge of recruiting outer sect disciples. Qin Hao stretched out a finger and smiled. Then, with a thought, the red lotus soul fire started raging in their bodies again. "Sect leader, please have mercy. Please have mercy. Don't torture us anymore. We can't take it anymore. We're willing to be your watchdog, let alone a small deacon." The Xianming elders knelt in front of Qin Hao and tore at their clothes crazily. Their skin was badly mangled as they tried to pull out the red lotus soul fire. It was as if countless poisonous snakes and insects were running around in their bodies. In an instant, the scene stunned everyone once again. The Lingyun school disciples never expected that Qin Hao would recruit 2 king-level guardians for the sect the day after he succeeded the throne. Everyone knew that the Xianming elders were very strong. Even if the 2 of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to defeat the previous sect leader of the Lingquan sect. They would be at a disadvantage. Today, they knelt in front of a new sect leader and begged to be the most unbearable small deacons in the sect. The disciples looked at Qin Hao with a different gaze. It changed from respect to fear. Song Qingshu couldn't accept it. In fact, when the Xianming elders came to the branch sect from the Great Yin Imperial City, his uncle promised them a lot of money and asked them to stay more than once to become the branch sect's super high officials. However, the Xianming elders treated Song Qingshu's uncle like dirt and didn't care about him at all. They never expected that he would be willing to be a small deacon in the Lingyun school. "Trash, you two trash." Song Qingshu hugged his head and shook it nonstop. He felt like he was going crazy. He wanted to run, but he realized that he couldn't. Qin Hao's domain power was currently trapping them. Very good. After Qin Hao got the Xianming elders' acknowledgement, the restless red lotus flames in their bodies calmed down. Then, he pointed at Song Qingshu and all the Song family disciples. He looked at the Xianming elders and said, "It's your first day as deacons, but you didn't expect to encounter such a good opportunity to contribute to the sect. You're really lucky." After saying that, Qin Hao waved his sleeve and removed the domain power. "Run, hurry back to the clan." Crash. The disciples of the Song family were like 100 wild donkeys, running wildly down the mountain in all directions. The one with the fastest reaction was Song Qingshu himself. He used all his vital qi to escape and flapped his vital wings to fly in the direction of Ding'an City. Even the Xianming elders had been subdued by Qin Hao. It would be strange if they didn't run. Trying to escape? Do you think you can escape? The Xianming elders snorted coldly and turned into 2 afterimages as they pounced forward. They were not fools. The reason why Qin Hao removed the domain power was to let them kill the Song family disciples. In this way, the Xianming elders and the Song family would become enemies. They could only follow the Lingyun school willingly. In a flash, the 2 old fellows pounced into the crowd and continuously slapped with their ice palms. Their figures flashed past, and the Song family disciples were turned into ice cubes one by one. As the Xianming elders swept past like a gust of wind, the ice cubes shattered and fell to the ground. No one was able to escape in front of them. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 Song family disciples were killed. They died without a complete corpse. The The Xianming elders' cultivation technique was incomparably sinister, and their attacks were even more ruthless. Their methods made the Lingyun school disciples' scalps tingle. Song Qingshu had just flown into the sky when he was chased by the thin and tall old man. Like a chicken, he grabbed his neck and threw him back to Qin Hao's feet. Qin Hao had said before that Song Qingshu would die without a burial ground. The Xianming elders didn't dare to make a decision without permission. Very good. Looking at the submissive Xianming elders standing to the side, Qin Hao nodded in satisfaction. Then he smiled at Song Qingshu. Xianming elders, you two shameless traitors. The main branch of the Song family won't let you off. And you, Song Qingshu crawled up from the ground and pointed at Qin Hao's nose. He bared his teeth and roared. Who do you think you are? Do you dare to touch a finger of mine? My uncle is the head of the branch. How dare you be rude to our sect leader? You're courting death. The short and fat old man slapped Song Qingshu in the air. With a smack, Song Qingshu spun more than a dozen times and fell to the ground again. Hiss! The Lingyun school disciples sucked in a breath of cold air. The Xianming elder style was comparable to two obedient dogs. Ling Xiaoxue also had a bitter expression. Qin Hao trained them to be so obedient. Even her grandfather, Ling Quan, couldn't do it. However, she was very clear that although the Xianming elders belonged to the Lingyun school, they actually only listened to Qin Hao's orders. Don't kill me. Brother, we can talk things out. In fact, I've always wanted to treat you to tea. Song Qingshu was slapped until his head was swollen like a pig's and immediately lost his confidence. Qin Hao couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense. He turned to Liang Xiaoxi and said, Kill him. Liang Xiaoxi revealed a trace of timidity. He usually talked about revenge, but when his enemy stood in front of him and waited for him to kill him, he suddenly became nervous. He had never killed anyone before. Don't you want to take revenge for Uncle Liang? Are you still worthy of being his son? You're too disappointing. Qin Hao shook his head and turned to walk toward the top of the mountain. Ha ha! You bastard of the Liang family, you dare touch me? My uncle is the leader of the branch family. If I die, even if he chases me to the ends of the earth, he will kill all of you from the Lingyun school. You won't be able to reincarnate. Song Qingshu was afraid of Qin Hao and the Xianming elders, but that didn't mean that he was afraid of Liang Xiaoxi. Junior brother Liang, kill this bastard. Chop him up with a knife. Do it. The Lingyun school disciples all urged. Song Qingshu still dared to be arrogant. But the sect, Liang Xiaoxi, was afraid of implicating the Lingyun school. At this time, Ling Xiaoxue handed him a sword. Even the sect leader isn't afraid. So what are you afraid of? Even if the sky falls, the sect leader will hold it up for us. That's right, the sect leader will hold it up for us. Junior brother Liang, are you still a man? Liang Xiaoxi's eyes suddenly became bloodshot. He picked up Ling Xiaoxue's sword and, under Song Qingshu's horrified expression, slashed the sword into his skull. Splat! Song Qingshu was cut in half, and hot blood splattered all over him. At this moment, Liang Xiaoxi seemed to have lost all his strength. He knelt on the ground and threw away his sword. He covered his face with both hands and cried bitterly. Father, I have avenged you. I have avenged you and Big Brother. Seeing this, Mu Feiyu patted Liang Xiaoxi's shoulder and sighed. My condolences. Looking at the countless mutilated corpses at the foot of the mountain breeze blew, and the thick smell of blood quickly spread. It had already attracted many wild beasts. It wouldn't be long before the villagers of Jiuquan town discovered this. News of the massacre of more than 100 people from the Song family would spread to Ding'an City sooner or later. Mu Feiyu, Yang Kuan, and Ling Xiaoxue looked at each other. Then, the three of them led the sect disciples and quickly chased after Qin Hao at the top of the mountain. At this time, in the Lingyun Palace, Qin Hao sat in the sect leader's seat with a smile on his face. He picked up the tea beside him and took a sip. In front of him, the Xianming elders were trembling all over. They didn't dare to speak or even raise their heads. The two of them knew very well that although the feeling of being burned by the raging flames had disappeared, With just a thought from the sect leader, the feeling of living a life worse than death would immediately be added to their bodies. Don't be nervous. If you work for me honestly, you won't be short of benefits. Qin Hao wanted to laugh. The two people in front of him were king stage experts with some fame. No matter how he looked at them, they looked like two bastards. Chapter 881. With Qin Hao's permission, they carefully opened the bags. At first glance, they were excited. Oh my god, it's earth crystals. There are so many of them. Thank you, Sect Master. There were no less than 100,000 earth crystals in each bag. That was 10 million Xian crystals. It was a very impressive amount. Not to mention Song Qingshu's branch family. Even the main branch of the Song family wouldn't be so generous to their guests. The Xianming elders were excited and grateful. They wanted to die for Qin Hao. It's just a small sum. You could spend it as pocket money. If you listen to my orders, you'll get more benefits. Qin Hao smiled. Some time ago, when they attacked the wasteland, there was a sky crystal dragon vein in the depths of the Broken Dragon Cliff. The mine stretched for thousands of miles, and its value was immeasurable. Even the rocks around the mine were infected by the dragon crystals and turned into earth crystals. This was what the old demon found when he drilled into the ground. Before Qin Hao came to the northern border, he specially ordered Hai Dafu and Jin Yushuan's business alliance to be in charge of the mine. He also split the profits with Shaolei and Shaojun. The mine belonged to the Qing dynasty. However, Qin Hao helped the siblings reclaim their land, so it was a reward for sending troops. Before leaving, Jin Yushuan gave Qin Hao a lot of money. These 200,000 earth crystals were only a small part. We're willing to sacrifice our lives for Sect Master. The Xianming elders suddenly knelt down at the same time and swore solemnly in front of Qin Hao. They didn't know Qin Hao's identity and why he was hiding in the trashy Lingyun school. However, not everyone could easily take out 200,000 earth crystals. They guessed that Qin Hao's background was definitely not small. Get up. Show me your actions in the future. Qin Hao waved his hand. Stop fooling around. The two smiled awkwardly and got up. Sect Master, may I ask what your true cultivation is? At this time, the short and fat elder asked carefully. Even if a heavenly saint had the origin soul, it was impossible for him to suppress the mysterious underworld race to the point where they could not retaliate. The two of them were not noobs at all. However, Qin Hao's cultivation was unfathomable and too strange. He can fight against a low-level Yuan Venerate. Qin Hao didn't mention his specific cultivation level, but he gave him a general position. This was the truth. Hiss. Both of them sucked in a cold breath, feeling extremely shocked. It was no wonder that Qin Hao was so formidable and could actually contend with a low-level Yuan Venerate. Even 100 Xianming elders wouldn't be able to get close to him. At this very moment, the two's decadence was completely swept away. They no longer felt humiliated, and their defeat was justified. Since Suzerain is such a master, why did you choose to stay in the small Lingyun school? With your abilities and your young age, even if you were to enlist for Emperor Zhao's war general, watch your mouth. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Before the Xianming elders could finish speaking, Qin Hao interrupted them with a threatening look. Also, you must not tell Ling Xiaoxue and the others about my cultivation level. Otherwise, Qin Hao used his mind to guide the red lotus fire. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 2 balls of fire emerged from the bodies of the Xianming elders. The taste of the raging inferno clone was back. Their internal organs were scorching hot, and the pain was excruciating. Sect Master, please spare our lives. We would rather die than reveal anything. Humph. Qin Hao's eyes flickered as he cut off the connection with the red lotus fire. The two of them returned to normal once again. However, they were still sweating profusely. Sect Master, I have something to say. You have killed many disciples of the Song family today, including Song Qingshu. Given your cultivation level, you're not afraid of the Song family in Ding'an City. However, forgive me for being blunt. The Song family has many experts and many high-level Yuan Venerates. You should lead those insignificant disciples and hide. The tall, skinny old man said worriedly. Since they were on the same boat as Qin Hao, they had to consider the other party situation. If something happened to Qin Hao, the two of them would definitely not have a good ending. My big brother is right. Our cultivation levels are only the weakest among the Song family's bronze guests. Above us are the silver guests, gold guests, star guests, and extremely terrifying king guests. The short, fat old man added. What's a king's hanger-on? Qin Hao was a little interested. Low-level Yuan monarchs are bronze. High-level ones are silver. Below level 5 Yuan venerates are gold. Above level 5 and above are star guests. As for king guests, they are monarch-level powerhouses. The tall, skinny old man explained. The power of the Song family's main branch was extremely great. It was huge and comparable to the Severing Moon Palace. In fact, it was only slightly weaker than the Severing Moon Palace. That's out of my expectations. Even Qin Hao was surprised. The Song family actually had monarch-level powerhouses as guests. Didn't this mean that the main branch's patriarch and grand elders' cultivation levels were very likely monarch-level powerhouses? At the very least, they should be peak monarch-level powerhouses. Such a terrifying force was indeed not something Qin Hao could provoke. Sect Master. Ling Xiaoxue led a large group of disciples into the hall and was about to ask Qin Hao what they should do next. However, when they saw the Xianming elders standing in the hall and releasing a cold aura, everyone, including Ling Xiaoxue, did not dare approach. Don't be afraid. From now on, the Xianming elders will be the deacons of the sect's outer sect and will be responsible for your safety. I guarantee that there will only be more and more powerhouses in the sect. There might even be Yuan venerate elders. Qin Hao joked and shot a look at the Xianming elders. Ahem, dear disciples, don't be afraid. The two of us will follow the sect master's orders and protect your personal safety. Whoever dares to go against the soaring cloud sect, this old man swears that I will destroy their families, break their wives and children, and destroy their bodies. The Xianming elders had sinister looks on their faces as they uttered these cruel words. This immediately made the disciples heave a sigh of relief. Ling Xiaoxue and the others also dared to take a few steps forward. Junior brotherly Bai, no, sect master, we have killed so many disciples of the Song family. They definitely won't take this lying down. When we came here, I discussed with Xiaoxue and suggested that we move the sect to Lingtai Ancient City to take refuge. The Xiao royal family is in Lingtai Ancient City. The Song family definitely won't dare to take revenge openly. Mu Feiyu said. Yang Kuan also had an anxious look on his face. At the moment, everyone took the initiative to ignore Qin Hao's background and cultivation. It didn't matter who Qin Hao was. The important thing was that he was the Lingyun School's sect master. He could protect the sect and protect the disciples. That was enough. I second the motion. I second the motion too. The Xianming elders believed that moving the sect was the only choice. Since the Xianming elders also agree, let's do as everyone says. To avoid any more trouble, we will move overnight and rush to Lingtai Ancient City. Qin Hao got up and walked down the mountain. He had to quickly dig out the medicinal herbs that he had planted. The herbs were not ripe yet, and those few stalks were too important. As for the things that the sect would bring with them, Qin Hao didn't have to worry about them. He believed that Ling Xiaoxue would take care of it. In fact, the Lingyun school didn't have anything valuable at all. There were only some outdated weapons and old cultivation techniques that couldn't keep up with the times. Qin Hao could refine weapons, and he could refine them even better. They all had inscriptions. As for the cultivation techniques, Qin Hao could improve them. After improving them, they would be even more powerful. As for the pills, they were all in Mu Feiyu's spatial ring, so he didn't have to worry about them. If it weren't for the fact that Ling Xiaoxue had feelings for Ling Quan, Qin Hao couldn't be bothered to let her pack up those useless and broken cultivation techniques. In less than 2 hours, all of the disciples had finished packing up and gathered at the foot of the mountain. They looked at the small mountain in front of them reluctantly. Every 3 steps they took, they would turn around and leave. Lin Xiaoxue started to cry. This was the home that had raised her. In order to continue the Lingyun school, she had no choice but to leave. Chapter 882. Everyone set off quietly, heading straight for Lingtai City. Not long after they left Jiuquan town, an unusual aura chased after them from behind. When Ling Xiaoxue and the rest turned around to look, their expressions changed drastically. It was a bright red light that was as bright as a shooting star. Under the night sky, it was exceptionally dazzling. The Lingyun school disciples were all too familiar with this aura. It's him, the person who killed the old sect master, Song Ziyang. The disciples clenched their fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. Mu Feiyu and Yang Kuan's faces were filled with worry. Even the Xianming elders were sweating nervously. If Song Ziyang tried to stop them, they wouldn't be able to leave so easily. Sect Master. Sect Master. At this moment, everyone's gaze landed on Qin Hao. Qin Hao is everyone's backbone. All disciples, listen up. Follow the Xianming elders and speed up. No matter what happens, don't look back. Qin Hao looked at Ling Xiaoxue. I'll go talk to him. With that, orange essence surged around him. Qin Hao turned into a beam of light and collided with the red light. Sect Master, be careful. Li Bai, you have to come back alive. Ling Xiaoxue shouted into the night sky. The Lingyun school had lost their grandfather. They couldn't lose a new sect master. Follow the sect master's orders. Everyone, follow the team and advance at full speed. The Xianming elders gritted their teeth and surrounded the disciples. At the same time, they used their king-level cultivation to sweep everyone away. Song Ziyang was a cursed person in the main family. He wasn't liked by the higher-ups, but he could definitely be called a genius. With the sect master's high cultivation level, he shouldn't be in any danger. What the two of them needed to do was to quickly escape from Song Ziyang's pursuit. Otherwise, it was inevitable that the Song family's hangers-on would appear. When that happened, it would be troublesome. What surprised Qin Hao was that Song Ziyang stopped a few hundred miles away from the Lingyun school's disciples. He had his hands behind his back as he landed on a hill. Although he was staring in the direction where the Xianming elders had disappeared, it was clear that his target wasn't the disciples. You're looking for me? Qin Hao's eyes were cold as he flapped his flaming wings. His body rose and fell as he floated in front of Song Ziyang. Song Ziyang nodded. Not bad. Ling Quan's foresight has always been sharp. After he left, he arranged an even stronger guardian for Lingyun school. Qin Hao raised his eyebrows. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. You are the murderer of the previous sect leader, and I am the current sect leader. We should have nothing to talk about. If you want to fight, then let's do it. Sensing that Qin Hao's aura was getting stronger, Song Ziyang shook his head with a bitter smile. I, Song Ziyang, rarely admit defeat. I admit that I am not your opponent. Then what do you want? Qin Hao asked. Song Ziyang didn't even have the slightest bit of vigilance in front of him. I just want to ask, is Xiaoxue okay? Song Ziyang's face was full of concern. Qin Hao curled his lips. How well do you think she can be? From the looks of it, you're worried about her. Do you like her? Then why did you kill her grandfather? Song Ziyang lowered his head, not daring to answer. After a long silence, he raised his eyes and slowly said, there are many things that we can't control. I'm the eldest son of the main branch of the Song family. I was born to be a jinx to my parents. After my mother died, I was kicked out of the family and sent to the branch of the Ding'an city. When I was in the Song Qingshu branch family, I got to know Xiaoxue. However, she didn't know that I was a member of the Song family, let alone that I was the eldest son of the clan leader. Later on, we would meet at the same time, the same place, and play together, just like every day. We all needed to eat and sleep. If we didn't meet, our bodies would feel unnatural. Just like that, we slowly grew up together. Slowly, she also found out that I was a member of the Song family. She's the strongest girl I have ever seen in the world. She clearly has a terminal illness and doesn't have long to live, but she has never been depressed. She has always worked hard to live, enduring pain that others can't endure, to cultivate, to fight against the heavens. From that moment on, I swore to myself that she is the girl that I will protect for the rest of my life. As Song Ziyang spoke, his eyes turned red. You're really good at protecting her. You even killed her only family member. What a joke. Qin Hao didn't hide the disdain in his eyes. That's not what I want. You don't understand at all. Everyone has a destiny that they can't defy. I, Song Ziyang, have a destiny to completely end the enmity with the Ling family. She and I are enemies. Song Ziyang covered his face and began to sob. His entire body was filled with powerlessness. Bullshit destiny. Qin Hao was enraged and let out a thunderous roar that reverberated through the wilderness. The insects were so frightened that they didn't dare to make a sound. The entire world was silent at this moment. Tell me, what is the mandate of heaven? Heaven's will was meant to be broken. If not, what is the point of cultivating? If you accept your fate, why are you a martial artist? Why don't you just die? All right, maybe I really don't understand. But if I had chosen someone, even if I had to risk my life, fight against the heavens, fight against the earth, fight against the gods and demons, I would have no regrets. As Qin Hao spoke, he thought of Xiao Han. As his words fell, it was as if Xiao Han's image appeared in front of him. Xiao Han nodded and smiled at Qin Hao with tears in his eyes. Qin Hao shook his head and threw away all distracting thoughts. He continued, All right, genius of the Song family, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. What do you want? If you want to see Xiao Shui or wanting to pass a message to her, then give up. I haven't known her for long, but I can see that she is a very stubborn person. You killed her only family and crossed her limit. She will never forgive you in this lifetime. She will never get close to you in this lifetime. She is afraid that one day she will be killed. Between the two of you, it's completely over. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. I don't want to. I really don't want to. Song Ziyang finally choked out. He suddenly raised his head and howled. Tears flowed down his face, and he was about to break down. Useless thing. With your conduct, you deserve to be despised by the family. If you want to cry, then cry far away. I want to accompany you. Qin Hao cursed and turned to leave. It's fine if the girl cries, but Song Ziyang, a man, came to vent his grievances in front of me. Can't he find someone to talk to? He must have taken the wrong medicine. Wait. Song Ziyang stopped crying and urged Qin Hao to stay. He said seriously, take Xiao Shui and Ling Yun School to Lingtai City and rely on the Jiang family there. Although the Jiang family's power is not as strong as the main branch of the Song family, the Jiang family has a deep relationship with the Xiao royal family. They are deteriorating day by day with several branches of the family, and there have already been a few fights. Rely on the Jiang family and settle Xiao Shui and Ling Yun School. Then, personally pay a visit to the Jiang family's ancestor, Jiang Bida. After obtaining his approval, no matter how the Song family wants to deal with you, they will be wary, Song Ziyang said. Qin Hao was stunned and looked at him with some surprise. Then why didn't you tell Ling Quan before? That way, Ling Quan wouldn't have died. Chapter 883. In the dark night, his faint voice continued. Jiang Bida has a granddaughter and a grandson that he dotes on a lot. His grandson is called Jiang Fan, a playboy who likes to be flattered. When people say nice things about him, it's easy to build a good relationship with him. His granddaughter, River Yu, is known as the #1 beauty in Liaoxi. She is good at singing and dancing and has outstanding talent. She is still single. She often says that she won't marry anyone other than a hero. Given your qualifications, you are comparable to a peak Yuan monarch before the age of 20. You could be considered a first-rate talent in Beijiang. As long as you work hard, it won't be difficult to win River Yu's heart. Take down River Yu and become Jiang Fan's brother-in-law. Curry favor with your brother-in-law in private. The Jiang family's patriarch, Jiang Bida, will definitely use the power of the entire family to protect Ling Yun School. What about the Xinming elders? Don't you want to get rid of them? Qin Hao sneered. If Song Ziyang had told Ling Xiaoxue this earlier, perhaps today's tragedy would not have happened. Song Ziyang was also an unusually stubborn person. The Song family doesn't care about two bronze dogs. Song Xiang's voice completely disappeared in the night wind. What a big tone. Qin Hao sneered. Song Xiang was a little interesting. Qin Hao turned around and chased after the Xianming elders. After 5 days of trekking, they finally arrived at Lingtai ancient city with fear and trepidation. The ancient city was quite big. Although it was not as prosperous as Luoshui's imperial city, it was not small. Qin Hao used his own money to buy a big manor in the city and settled Ling Xiaoxue and the disciples down. He then ordered the Xianming elders to take good care of them. Then, he wrote a letter and went straight to the Jiang family. Ling Xiaoxue and the Xianming elders were still very worried about Qin Hao visiting the Jiang family's patriarch. It was rumored that the Jiang family's patriarch did not care about worldly affairs and was very difficult to communicate with. He only cared about his granddaughter and grandson. His grandson was also a very despicable person. Qin Hao would definitely be humiliated this time. However, they had no other choice. For now, they could only rely on Qin Hao's successful visit. He inquired about the Jiang family on the street. Jiang Bita's Jiang family was quite prestigious in the city, so he soon got the answer. When they arrived at the Jiang residence, Qin Hao stood at the gate and praised. The Jiang clan was located in the center of the city. Logically speaking, the center of the city should be the city lord's mansion. However, the Jiang family's patriarch had forced the city lord's mansion to an extremely remote location. Within a radius of 5 miles, the central area was completely surrounded by the Jiang family's courtyard. There were no other buildings in the surrounding area. The gate of the Jiang family's mansion was very tall and grand. Standing below it, one would feel like an ant. It was different from the other clans. Most of the other clans had 2 rows of elite guards at the entrance. The door of the Jiang family was wide open, but there was not even a shadow of a guard by the door. Even so, when the pedestrians on the street passed by the Jiang family's house, not only did they not barge in to take a look, they even stayed far away. The moment he stood in front of the gate, Qin Hao could clearly sense that there were dozens of powerful auras coming from inside the mansion. These auras were ostentatious and not concealed in the slightest. Among them, there were more than 10 auras that were above Qin Hao's cultivation. 2 of them had already stepped into the terrifying Emperor realm. Although these 2 auras were only low-level Emperor realm and were far inferior to Vivian, it was not difficult to see that the strength of the Jiang family was not to be underestimated. After tidying up his clothes, Qin Hao came in with a letter of visit. Just as his right leg stepped over the threshold, a 10-meter-long saber light suddenly whizzed over and chopped down on his head. Qin Hao leaned sideways slightly, and the saber light brushed past his cheek. Qin Hao's hair was messed up by the saber chi, and with a bang, the saber light shattered a piece of the Jiang family's door. At this time, dozens of men and women walked out of the mansion, each with a fierce aura. The one in the lead was a young man with curly hair and yellow feces. He looked to be in his early 20s. His cultivation was at the peak of the profound sage realm. Qin Hao easily dodged the attack of the saber light and tried to maintain the smile on his face. He cupped his hands to the crowd and said, "Sect Master Jiang of the Lingyun School, representing the sect, has come to pay a visit to Master Jiang." The dozens of men and women still looked at Qin Hao coldly, not saying a word. Qin Hao's face stiffened. He restrained himself and repeated his words. At this time, the leader of the group, a young man with yellow curly hair, spoke up. He was also the one who had slashed the saber light just now. He looked at Qin Hao with a teasing smile and said, "Do you think you're very cocky? You think you're awesome for dodging my attack? My grandfather is someone you want to meet. You can meet him whenever you want." "You're Jiang Fan?" Qin Hao sized up the young man. "You know that I'm Jiang Fan, but you still dare to be so arrogant. Quickly kneel in front of me and kowtow twice." Jiang Fan raised his head arrogantly. Suddenly, a sinister look flashed in his eyes. His hand flashed, and he took out a long saber from his spatial ring. With a sweep of his long arm, a white saber chi burst out and slashed toward Qin Hao's legs. "If you stand obediently and don't resist and promise not to die, I'll let you meet my grandfather." The dozens of men and women shook their heads and laughed. Their young master had fallen into his old habit of joking about the life and death of others. If Qin Hao didn't resist and took the saber strike head-on, how could he still be alive? Jiang Lushui, a Yuan king, shouted, "Sect Master Jiang of the Lingyun school, right? Don't try to resist. If you injure our young master, not to mention meeting our old ancestor, I guarantee that you won't be able to walk out of the Jiang family's gate alive." Brother Shui, look at this kid. According to his age, he's at most a low-level profound sage. Even if he resists, what can he do? Could it be that in front of so many king-level masters, he could really do anything to our young master? We're not. We're just decorations. Ha ha. The dozens of men and women laughed at the same time. However, Qin Hao also laughed, but it was no longer a polite smile, but an extremely cold sneer. He recalled Song Xiang's words, "Don't provoke Jiang Fan. Go along with what he wants." "Come on, my ass." Qin Hao stretched out his big hand and directly shattered the saber light that Jiang Fan swept over. Moreover, he really grabbed Jiang Fan's neck in front of everyone in the Jiang family. Before anyone could react, he smashed Jiang Fan's head heavily on the ground. Bang! With a deafening explosion, the ground of the Jiang family's residence trembled. Jiang Fan's head smashed into the stone floor, and half of his forehead sank into the ground. The turbulent vibration caused by this strike made Jiang Fan unable to hold the saber in his hand. With a clatter, he vomited a large amount of blood, which sprayed all over his face. "Young master, how dare you hurt our young master? How dare you?" After the dozens of men and women reacted, they felt extremely incredulous. Then, they all flew into a rage and rushed over from all directions, blocking all of Qin Hao's escape routes. Qin Hao looked up and estimated that the average strength of this group of people was at the 6th level of Yuan Monarch. The two strongest people were peak Yuan Monarchs and could be considered elites. Qin Hao was indeed capable of killing all of them, but might take him a bit longer. However, in the Jiang family, there were more powerful people behind the scenes. Obviously, they wouldn't give Qin Hao this opportunity. In fact, Qin Hao didn't even have the chance to escape now. However, the corners of Qin Hao's mouth curled up. He grabbed Jiang Fan's neck again and increased the strength in his hand. This time, it was even stronger than the previous strike. With a bang, Jiang Fan's head was pressed into the ground again. There was a loud rumble. As the power of this strike was too strong, it directly collapsed the Jiang family's main door, causing smoke and dust to billow. Jiang Fan couldn't take it anymore and was half dead. Chapter 884. Squeak. At that moment, everyone stopped in their tracks and clenched their fists in anger. It would be easy for dozens of Yuan monarchs to kill a mere heavenly sage like Qin Hao. At least in their opinion, it was very easy. However, it would be even easier for Qin Hao to kill Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan would definitely die if he moved his fingers. At that moment, no one dared to move forward. Following this, a second group of people walked out from the inner hall. The cultivation of the second group of people was even stronger. They were led by a middle-aged man in a luxurious golden robe who emitted emperor-level Yuan Qi. Behind the middle-aged man were 4 Yuan venerates. "It has been decades, young man. You are the first person who dares to provoke the Jiang family in such an unbridled manner." The middle-aged man in the golden robe stared coldly at Qin Hao. Family head. Everyone bowed. This person was Jiang Fan's father, Jiang Tiangang. He was also one of the 2 emperor-level powerhouses in the Jiang mansion that Qin Hao had sensed earlier. "Father, save me." Jiang Fan spat out blood and panicked. Jiang Tiangong's heart trembled violently. He tried his best to remain calm and looked at Qin Hao with eyes filled with killing intent. "Right now, you only have one path to take. Let go of my son and kill yourself. At least you can leave a complete corpse." Ha ha ha. This was a huge joke in Qin Hao's eyes. "I still have another option. I will kill your son." "How dare you? Kid, you are courting death." Everyone in the Jiang family was furious. "Shut up, all of you. I'm about to die, so why should I care about whether I'm dead or alive? You bunch of idiots." Qin Hao mocked. Then he glanced at Jiang Fan in his hand and said, "See, it's not me who wants to kill you. Your father is forcing me to kill you." "Father, I don't want to die, and I can't die. Who will carry on the Jiang family's bloodline if I die? Is this how a muddle-headed family head like you handles matters?" Jiang Fan's legs kept on kicking as he tried his best to grab onto Qin Hao's arms. Only then could he barely breathe. "Fanner, death is not scary. The dignity of the Jiang family cannot be lost. Don't worry, once you die, I'll immediately grind this kid's bones to dust and avenge you." Jiang Tiangang gritted his teeth and pointed at Qin Hao. Finally, he could not restrain his emotions. "That's easy for you to say. Why don't you try and save me?" Jiang Fan said as he struggled. At this moment, Qin Hao had already taken out his Taishu sword and placed it on Jiang Fan's neck. His eyes were smiling as he said, "Jiang Fan, you could have survived. But if your father insists on forcing you to die, then you can't blame me. Anyway, my life is cheap. There were no regrets in life. However, he was the successor of the Jiang family, yet your father used him to protect the family's dignity. In his eyes, you're just a tiny bit of value. After all, even if you die, your father can still have another child." "Shut up, brat." Jiang Tiangang felt a sweetness in his throat. He was so angered by Qin Hao that he almost vomited blood. "Jiang Tiangang, your heart is truly black. Is this your way of being a father? How can you treat your own son so cruelly? I know that you only love my sister and never value me. You think that my way of doing things is a disgrace to the Jiang family. You can't wait for me to die. So, why don't you kill me with your own hands? Kill me." Jiang Fan's eyes were bloodshot as he roared at Jiang Tiangang with all his might. "Vile spawn." Jiang Tiangang was so angry that his entire body was trembling. His chest felt as if it was blocked. Finally, he could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. Family head. Everyone in the Jiang family was anxious. Jiang Tiangang waved his hand and wiped off the blood at the corner of his mouth. He sneered at Qin Hao. "What a great psychological attack. You are truly capable. Is this your sincerity in coming to visit my father?" "This junior is not talented, but I have indeed come with full sincerity. That also depends on who I'm dealing with. If you respect me, I'll return the favor. Otherwise, we'll be enemies. If you want me to die, I'll let your Jiang family's bad name spread far and wide. Let everyone see how you, as the family head, force your own son to die." Qin Hao replied. "Lingyun school, right? Have you never thought that I can destroy your sect with just a thought?" Jiang Tiangang said gloomily. "First of all, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. My Lingyun school and the Northern Yinsong family have been enemies for generations. They're like fire and water. And now, your Jiang family is the same. But as the family head, you want to kill our Lingyun school and make a joke out of the Song family. What else can I say? It's really unfortunate for the Jiang family to have someone like you as the family head." Qin Hao sighed in disappointment. Suddenly, Jiang Tiangong's expression changed. Black and white alternated back and forth. His eyes, which were staring at Qin Hao, almost flew out of their sockets. He had been the family head of the Jiang family for more than 10 years and led the Jiang family to prosperity. This was obvious to all in Lingtai City. But in Qin Hao's mouth, it became a misfortune. This was an insult to him, Jiang Tiangang. However, Qin Hao continued. "Second of all, my Lingyun school was forced into a corner by the Song family and chose to rely on your Jiang family. Before coming to your residence, I've already instructed my disciples to spread the news throughout the city. Presumably, at this time, all the citizens of Lingtai City have already heard about this. Our Lingyun school has declined. We have few people, so it's fine if they die. But if there are other enemies of the Song family who also want to rely on your Jiang family in the future, then they will have to think twice before coming. After all, our Lingyun school was killed by your Jiang family. You even dare to kill your own friends. It's completely possible for you to kill other collaborators." At this point, Qin Hao was speechless. If it were me who came to cooperate, I would rather die in the wilderness with the Song family than run to your Jiang family. After all, the Lingyun school is a warning. Clap, clap, Clap. Crisp applause rang out. Then, a woman's voice that sounded like the chirping of an oriole rang out. What an outstanding person who can see the big picture. Father, uncles, let go of your hostility. The Lingyun school is not an enemy, but our friend. This little brother is unbearably naughty. It's good to teach him a lesson. As she spoke, a beautiful young woman walked over from behind the Jiang family's crowd, side by side with an old man who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The old man looked to be in his 80s. He had white hair and a youthful complexion. He was full of energy, and his eyes flickered with a shrewd luster. The woman looked to be about the same age as Jiang Fan. She was wearing a long blue dress and a green veil. Her fair shoulders could be vaguely seen under the veil. Her skin was smooth and creamy, and she looked radiant. In terms of appearance, she was comparable to Wan Qin and Xing, but in terms of temperament, she was slightly inferior. As soon as the woman and the old man appeared, everyone bowed in unison. Ancestor, young miss. Jiang Tiangang hurriedly bowed to the old man. Father, you're really a stubborn old man. At this time, Jiang Yu smiled at Jiang Tiangang. Qin Hao glanced at the woman and the old man. Without a doubt, the woman was Jiang Fan's elder sister. The old man beside her was the Jiang family's ancestor, Jiang Bida. With the appearance of the two, Qin Hao knew that the goal of this trip had basically been achieved. Thus, he loosened his hand, and Jiang Fan fell to the ground. After landing, he coughed violently and quickly ran to the Jiang family's ancestor. He turned his head and pointed at Qin Hao. Grandfather, kill this person. Jiang Bida looked at the 5 bruised finger marks on Jiang Fan's neck with heartache. He glared at Jiang Tiangang. What are you waiting for? Take Fan back to heal. Chapter 885. Nonsense. River Feather's eyes were filled with killing intent as he reprimanded. Every time a guest comes to visit, you're always trying to intimidate them. Today, you've tripped over yourself, and you still don't know your mistake? Shortly after, River Feather said to a woman not far away, Kai, bring Jiang Fan down to treat his injuries. Facing River Feather's reprimand, Jiang Fan's eyes were filled with fear. He turned around and glared at Qin Hao as he unwillingly left with Kai. Jiang Bida and River Feather took a few steps forward towards Qin Hao, sizing him up. At this time, Qin Hao handed the greeting card to River Feather. After receiving it, he nodded his head in praise, disregarding cultivation, just based on courage. You could be considered hero. Let's talk inside. Jiang Bida said to Qin Hao in a low voice with a poker face. Then, he turned around and walked into the hall with River Feather. In the Jiang family's hall, Jiang Bida sat at the head of the table. Family head Jiang Tiangang sat beside him, while Qin Hao and River Feather sat below, facing each other. Jiang Bida took the greeting card from the table and glanced at it. When he saw the name on it, he looked at Qin Hao. Li Bai, right? Old man understands your meaning. Old man has long heard of the enmity between the Lingyun school and the Song family. Rest assured, within Lingtai City, my Jiang family will not sit by and watch the Song family humiliate you. You're right, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If the Lingyun school needs any help, old man will consider it. That's all. See the guest out. Many thanks, old Mr. Jiang. Qin Hao bowed slightly and was about to leave. Suddenly, River Feather called out to him. At this moment, River Feather's expression was somewhat unnatural. There was a trace of shyness in her eyes as she looked curiously at Qin Hao. Li Bai, are you married? Qin Hao suddenly recalled Song Xiang's words, and his heart jumped in fright. Could it be that he had attracted River Feather's favor? He hurriedly said, Miss Jiang, although I'm not married, I am already engaged. A look of disappointment appeared on River Feather's face as he sighed. What a pity. Jiang Bida was startled. Why do you say that? No, nothing. I just... Cough, Li Bai is quite interesting. He barged into our Jiang clan alone, yet he remained unyielding even in the face of powerful martial artists. As River Feather spoke, her face became redder and redder. She didn't know how to continue. Qin Hao couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. All the signs indicated that he had indeed attracted River Feather's attention. He hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Old Master Jiang, Ling Yun's school has just landed in the city, and there are many things that I need to return to deal with. I will take my leave now." "Li Bai, wait." River Feather called out to Qin Hao again. His actions were bashful and somewhat nervous as he asked, "Where is your Ling Yun school located in the city? Do you need help? I just happen to have nothing to do, so why don't you bring me there to take a look?" Qin Hao's expression immediately changed. Even a fool could see that River Feather was expressing goodwill and was about to refuse. "Li Bai, my Jiang clan treats your Ling Yun school as a friend. As the saying goes, when a friend is in trouble, help comes from all directions. Is discussing something with you right now, but look at your anxious face as if you want to run away. Do you really not put our Jiang clan in your eyes? You're too impolite, aren't you?" Jiang Tiangang glared at Qin Hao in displeasure. His daughter rarely spoke to others, but for some reason today, she actually chatted with Li Bai for a long time. On the other hand, Li Bai still had a look of displeasure on his face. Regarding this, Qin Hao inwardly complained. According to his temperament, he would have ignored River Feather long ago. He definitely wouldn't give the other party any chance to approach him. But now, he had an entire sect on his back. For the sake of those pitiful disciples, even as the sect leader, he had to endure it. "All right, Miss Jiang, feel free to ask me anything you want." Hence, in front of River Feather's grandfather and her father, Qin Hao started chatting with River Feather. He spoke of the Ling Yun school's specific location and then rambled on for a long time. During this time, Qin Hao also replied absent-mindedly. This caused Jiang Tiangang to yawn continuously and was about to fall asleep. However, Jiang Bida was very astute. His eyes brightened, and he couldn't help but interrupt the conversation between Qin Hao and River Feather. He revealed a smile and said to River Feather, "Lass, you couldn't have fallen for this brat, right?" The Jiang clan's old ancestor pointed at Qin Hao. "The heavens can be my witness." When the old man's finger pointed at him, Qin Hao almost wanted to shake off his feet and use the water wind steps to escape. "How is that possible? I've only met him once." "Grandpa, please don't joke around. River Feather stuttered. She was too embarrassed to admit it. It was true that she had a good impression of Qin Hao, but it wasn't to the extent that she fell for him. However, when this scene fell into Jiang Bida's eyes, he was even more convinced that his lass had fallen for him. Hence, he slapped his thigh and said, "What's there to be shy about? If you really fell for him, just say it. My Jiang clan is a prestigious clan and is Emperor Zhao's trusted aide. Could it be that the Jiang clan's daughter isn't worthy of this Tiansheng brat?" No. Grandpa, your words are too serious. Miss River Feather is definitely worthy of me. "Ah, no. I'm the one who isn't worthy of Miss Jiang. Moreover, I'm engaged." Qin Hao was afraid that the window paper would be pierced through. Now, the old man of the Jiang clan had taken the initiative to throw his granddaughter over. "Grandpa, aren't you ashamed?" River Feather stomped her foot in anger. She quickly covered her face and retreated to the side. However, she was still observing Qin Hao through the gaps between her fingers. She was 22 years old this year and had never fallen for anyone. In the past, she also didn't know what love at first sight was. However, from the moment Qin Hao stepped into the Jiang clan, he dared to publicly teach Jiang Fan a lesson in the face of the Jiang clan's powerful martial strength. At that moment, River Feather was deeply attracted to Qin Hao's temperament. She felt that this should be love at first sight. This was the first time she was attracted to someone. She really didn't want to miss the opportunity in front of her. This was her first time. What engagement? Isn't it just a piece of paper? Even the daughter of the Heavenly Emperor can't be compared to my Xiaoyu. Kid, what do you think of my granddaughter? Look at her figure, appearance, and temperament. How about this? You don't have to leave. Stay for a few days. You two can interact more and improve your relationship." Old Jiang Yi said with a smile. He was also anxious for his granddaughter. In the common family, a girl could get married at 16 years old. At 20 years old, she would have several children. River Feather was now considered a young girl. A few years later, she wouldn't be able to get married. Moreover, he had never seen his granddaughter as shy as she was today. Don't, old master. To you, the engagement is just a piece of paper, but to me, don't dilly-dally. What engagement? My father wants you to stay, so stay. Could it be that you despise the Jiang family? Men, take him away. Jiang Tiangang immediately became spirited. He immediately instructed 2 Yuan venerates to forcibly keep Qin Hao behind. Qin Hao really wanted to curse the heavens. Mother of Asterisker, what was this? He was a man, yet he was actually being forced. Also, why didn't River Feather directly reject him? What exactly was so good about him? Why couldn't she have told him that he would have changed? Chapter 886. Stop right there. A gust of wind blew over and turned into Jiang Fan. Jiang Fan had finished treating his injuries and wrapped a bandage around his neck. He stepped forward and separated the 2 Yuan venerates and Qin Hao. He pressed his hands on Qin Hao's chest and pushed him toward the door. You're just a toad trying to chew on a swan's leg. Why don't you look at yourself first? What the hell? After that, he turned to River Feather and said, Sister, don't fall for this kid's trick. I've seen this kind of trick many times. On the surface, he looks very reluctant and resistant, but on the inside, he's overjoyed. Sister, you're so beautiful that even birds and geese fall from the sky. You have excellent painting skills, and you are good at singing and dancing. Many geniuses feel inferior in my Jiang mansion, and many people want to marry you. As the pearl of the Jiang manor, whoever is lucky enough to marry you will undoubtedly receive the full support of the Jiang family. River Feather's eyes lit up. Really, she had never felt that she was actually so outstanding. At this moment, Jiang Tiangang looked at Qin Hao with disdain and asked his son, Then why does this person look so unwilling? Father, you don't understand. This is called loosening the reins only to grasp them better. Jiang Fan snorted and looked at Qin Hao as if he had seen through him. You've all been deceived by his appearance. He looks honest and sincere, but he might actually be after my sister. As long as he wins my sister's heart, he will be able to obtain more benefits. He might even be able to obtain the position of the head of the Jiang family. After all, I'm a mediocre person who isn't favored by any of the uncles. This person deserves death. Jiang Fan's words were like a boulder falling into a calm lake, causing a huge commotion. Jiang Bida instantly felt disgusted with Qin Hao. His eyes flashed with cold light. He asked coldly, Are you really coveting the Jiang family's property? Tell me what you think. However, Qin Hao didn't answer. Instead, he pointed at Jiang Fan's face and said, Apologize to me. What? Jiang Fan craned his neck in front of Qin Hao. I didn't hear you clearly. Say that again. Pa. Qin Hao swung his hand and slapped Jiang Fan's face. The slap lifted him off the ground and sent him flying diagonally. With a bang, he crashed into the table next to the Jiang family's patriarch and shattered the table. The tea on the table splashed all over Jiang Bida's face. How dare you? Brat, you're courting death. Everyone from the Jiang family roared angrily. Li Bai, what are you doing? This time, even River Feather was furious. Could it be that Li Bai really coveted the position of patriarch of the Jiang family, but his vicious scheme was seen through by his younger brother, and thus he flew into a rage out of humiliation? Facing the anger of the whole Jiang family, Qin Hao sneered. Now, I finally understand why the Jiang family can't compare with the Song family. The problem lies in the cultivation of the next generation. Master Jiang, I want to ask you, what do you think of Song Ziang? Master Jiang frowned and remained silent for a moment. Then, he said, Song Ziang is a rare talent. He has a calm personality and knows how to endure patiently. He also knows how to look for opportunities to draw his sword and defeat his enemy with one strike. Unfortunately, he was born at the wrong time. Actually, in the old man's opinion, it's nonsense to say that he brought misfortune to his parents. If Song Zhang was the old man's grandson, his achievements and cultivation level would only be higher now. Old master, you have sharp eyes. Qin Hao praised and cupped his fists. That's right. I have interacted with him before. This person is definitely a talent. On one hand, I hate him to the core. The Lingyun school's old sect master, Ling Quan, died in his hands. On the other hand, I can't help but admire Song Jiang. At such a young age, he has already attained the cultivation level of an 8th level Yuan monarch, and this is despite being ostracized by his family. What if no one ostracized him and supported him wholeheartedly? Just imagining it is terrifying. I'm sure that no matter how much obstruction this person faces in the future, he will still become the patriarch of the Song family. He would become the head of the Song family. Once he takes over the Song family, Qin Hao then looked at Jiang Fan. That would really be the misfortune of the Jiang family. Given Jiang Fan's character, even 100 of him would not be a match for Song Jiang. Of course, it would also be the misfortune of the Lingyun school. The atmosphere in the hall gradually became heavy and solemn, as Qin Hao explained. The Jiang family's patriarch, Jiang Tiangang, and even Jiang Yu lowered their heads dispiritedly and did not make a sound. Indeed, the Song family was very powerful now, especially when it came to nurturing the next generation. Each of them was better than the other family clans and the Jiang family. Not to mention Song Jiang himself. Song Jiang's half-brothers and sisters had cultivation levels higher than Jiang Fan's. To put it bluntly, Jiang Fan was like a reptile in a cesspool compared to them. He was only fit to look up at the dragons and phoenixes of the Song family. You actually look down on me? Unforgivable, really unforgivable. Jiang Fan felt extremely humiliated when he was compared to Song Jiang. He got up and ran to Qin Hao, shouting, "Who does Song Jiang think he is? He is already 25 years old, and I'm only 20 years old. There's a gap of 5 years, and I have relied on the Jiang family's resources. When I'm 25, I might even become a Yuan venerate. I will be even more powerful than him." But little brother, you took a total of 7 years to go from a mortal saint to a profound saint. At this moment, Jiang Yu's expression was extremely bitter. Jiang Fan's face immediately became extremely awkward when he heard her say this. Qin Hao looked at Jiang Bidao mockingly. "Old master, the Lingyun school and the Jiang family are friends, not enemies. I have already said that I am engaged and my heart is not with Miss Jiang Yu. However, as a friend, I sincerely hope that the Jiang family will be well and that Jiang Fan can change a little." The current situation. Jiang Bidao immediately heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. That makes sense. Everyone understands the principle that we are bound together for good or ill. You brought the Lingyun school to rely on the Jiang family. If the Jiang family fails, the Lingyun school will definitely not have an easy time either. However, Fantasy, along with the sigh, old ancestor Jiang's face was filled with disappointment. How could he not want his grandson to become a talent? "I have a way." Qin Hao suddenly spoke up. The Jiang family's old ancestors' eyes lit up. "Grandfather, don't listen to his nonsense. I am very good now. I can't be any better. I don't need to change." Jiang Fan was anxious. Qin Hao's gaze made him feel a chill. "Shut up. Just because you are good doesn't mean that the Jiang family is good. If you could really work harder, why would father and grandfather need to worry about you all the time?" Jiang Yu glanced at Qin Hao. "Li Bai, tell me, what method can I use to change my little brother?" "Sister, you can't. How am I not working hard? You tell me to change? I don't need to listen to other people's suggestions." "Shut up." Jiang Bidao's palm trembled. With a buzz, a ring of emperor-level origin chi spread out. The origin chi swept across the hall. It was so majestic that Jiang Fan immediately shut his mouth. Indeed, he should be ruthless and make his grandson change. Otherwise, the Jiang family would be in danger. "Li Bai, what suggestion do you have? Speak up," Jiang Bidao said. "It's very simple." Qin Hao took 2 steps forward and stood in front of the Jiang family's old ancestor. "Let me teach Jiang Fan. I only need 3 months. I guarantee that he will be reborn. He will become an outstanding young man with ambition, dreams, and drive. Dream on. I will not be your disciple." Jiang Fan roared crazily. He was the young master of the Jiang family. What kind of master couldn't he find? His grandfather and father were both emperor-level experts. However, Qin Hao was just a heavenly saint trash. What qualifications did he have to teach him? Chapter 887. If not for giving face to the Jiang family's old ancestor, Qin Hao would have admitted that Jiang Fan wasn't qualified to be his disciple. Even so, the Jiang family members' expressions changed. Letting Jiang Fan be an outer disciple of the Lingyun school? That was clearly an insult to the Jiang family. Jiang Fan was so angry that he jumped up. How can I believe you without any proof? You're only at the heaven saint level. However, old ancestor Jiang was patient. If Qin Hao could really reform Jiang Fan, what was wrong with letting his grandson be an outer disciple of the Lingyun school? Military order. Qin Hao's tone was firm. If I can't do it, I'm willing to kill myself and apologize to the Jiang family. The corner of Jiang Bida's eyes twitched. He, along with Jiang Yu and Jiang Tiangang, fell silent. After a long time, old ancestor Jiang said to Jiang Yu, go write a military order and let sect master Li and Jiang Fan put their handprint on it. 3 months later, we'll see how effective it is. If Li Bai really has the ability, I'll make the decision and help you get married. My Jiang family will take him in as an outsider. He'll be my son-in-law. If he can't do it, Jiang Bida snorted heavily, and an undisguised, killing intent spread out. Isn't this a little too serious? Actually, Jiang Yu was a little happy. However, this concerned Qin Hao's life, so she couldn't bear to do it. Do you think my Jiang family's prestige is something he can joke about with just a few words? Go, write a military order for me immediately. I want to see what ability sect master Li has when even old man can't discipline his grandson. Jiang Bida was imposing without being angry, and his tone was irrefutable. Jiang Yu pursed her lips and nodded, knowing that her grandfather had made up his mind. She turned and left. Soon, she brought the military order to the hall and placed it on the table. Qin Hao didn't even look at it and directly put his handprint on it. However, Jiang Fan's face was pale, and he didn't dare to step forward. He never thought that his grandfather, who had always doted on him, would really let him become a disciple of the Lingyun school. It was said that the Lingyun school was in decline and did not even have a king-level master. Compared to the Jiang mansion, it was worlds apart. As the eldest young master of the Jiang mansion, it was really embarrassing for him to be an external disciple of the Lingyun school. Seeing that Jiang Fan did not do anything, old ancestor Jiang stared at him. I'll press. Jiang Fan felt a great amount of pressure. He knew that the old man had made up his mind this time, and he had no choice but to do it. He took a step forward, stretched out his hand, and jabbed down with his thumb. After he pressed it down, Jiang Fan felt as if his heart had fallen into the abyss. At this time, Qin Hao smiled. His clothes were torn, and his flesh was badly mutilated. If it wasn't for Mu Feiyu stopping him, it was very likely that he would have died. Lives were lost. Even so, the moment Qin Hao stopped, Jiang Fan immediately fainted. From then on, Jiang Fan obediently took over the humiliating task of watering the plants. Every day, he would carry the bucket for Qin Hao. Unfortunately, he didn't know much about herbs. The second time, his hands trembled and he watered too much. In the end, he was slapped out of the sect by Qin Hao, causing a commotion among the passers-by. In fact, recently, there was always a large crowd outside the Lingyun school. Every day, the commoners would bet whether the Lingyun school's young master would send him flying out or not. How many times would he be sent flying in a day? To Jiang Fan, this kind of bet was worse than death. He really didn't dare to do it anymore. He had become a joke in the eyes of the commoners. Far away, Ling Xiaoxue, Mu Feiyu, and Yang Kuan stood at the edge of the herbal shop. They looked at Jiang Fan, who was watering seriously, and sighed at the same time. 7 days ago, who would have thought that this person was the young master of the Jiang family? Seeing this, the Xianming elders couldn't help but shudder. In terms of misery, The two of them weren't any better than Jiang Fan. It was the feeling of being burned into a lobster by the raging flames. Damn his ancestors, let's not talk about it anymore. Even if you were the king of heaven, if you fell into the hands of the sect master, he could still turn you into his grandson. HM, not bad. You've improved. Looking at the hard-working Jiang Fan, Qin Hao could not help but praise him. Watering was a delicate job. Not only did it test one's technique, but it also tested one's temperament and patience. Jiang Fan's current control was extremely precise. It would be of great help to his future cultivation. Li Bai F***CKU. Jiang Fan always said this sentence. He wiped the tears on his face with his dirty hands. Ever since he entered the Lingyun school, his tears hadn't stopped. Qin Hao smiled at his insults. As long as Jiang Fan didn't make a big mistake, it was fine to scold him. Not to mention that this was his only way to vent. If you didn't let him scold, he might die of frustration. Seeing that the herbs were ready, Qin Hao turned to Ling Xiaoxue and said, I'm going to go into seclusion for a while. During this time, you guys are responsible for supervising Jiang Fan when he comes to water. He knows how to do it, and I believe you guys already know it. If he dares to make a mistake, beat him to death. If he dies, I'll take care of him. Li Bai, this time, Jiang Fan couldn't take it anymore and threw down the bucket. It was already humiliating to be taught by Qin Hao. How could he let Ling Xiaoxue and Mu Feiyu teach him as well? The origin dissipating powder melts in your stomach. It has already spread throughout your meridians and sealed your dantian and sea of qi. Other than my antidote, you can forget about returning to the peak of the profound sage realm for the rest of your life. Qin Hao smiled and patted Jiang Fan's face, telling him with his eyes, only I can cure my antidote. Each pill was the size of a grain of rice. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.